Are we live? Okay. Oh, there we go. We are live. So I'll look to my clerks for roll call, please.
Welcome to the October 6, 2025 council meeting. We'll begin with roll call of council. Mayor Clark.
Present.
Deputy Mayor Bell.
Present.
Councillor Snutch.
Present.
Councillor Fisher.
Present.
Councillor Tuyu.
Present.
Councillor Goff.
Present.
Councillor Bell.
Present.
Thank you. We have quorum.
They're going to do the public spiel, like the recording should be coming up. Our declaration that everybody's on camera being filmed. We just have to wait for it.
This meeting is being streamed live on the Township of Ramara YouTube channel. Be advised that by attending a public meeting of the Council of the Township of Ramara, you are consenting to your image, voice, and comments being recorded and will form a part of the public record. The chair, CAO, and/or clerk have the discretion and authority to terminate or interrupt the live streaming in exceptional circumstances where the content of debate is considered inappropriate to be published. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. 1.2 of our agenda, apology pursuant to section 4.3G and 4.4I of the procedure bylaw. Councillor Bell.
Thank you. I would like to say I apologize that you felt I was being unparliamentary at our last meeting. It was not my intention to stifle debate, but rather to encourage it. And if I might address this through the chair, I also regret that on August 25th, while I was speaking about the ice storm, an interruption occurred via the gavel before I could fully clarify the matter. Specifically, the first and only time the deputy mayor spoke to me was on April 3rd when I responded to his voicemail. He did leave me a message on April 4th to indicate he was sending an email. I called back, but we did not connect. I received one further voice message on April 5. However, it was garbled. There was no opportunity on August 25th to add any further discussion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And do I have a motion from my staff, please?
Yes, through the chair. So per the procedure bylaw, this motion is to be determined without debate. That council consents to the return of Councillor Bell to her seat at the October 6, 2025 council meeting following her public apology for the disorderly conduct at the September 22nd, 2025 council meeting in accordance with sections 4.3G and 4.4I of the Township's procedure bylaw.
Okay, you've all heard the statement. I would need a mover and a seconder. Moved by the deputy mayor. Do I have a seconder? Yes. Councillor, you're seconding the motion, Councillor Snutch. So there is no debate on this matter. All in favor of the motion. The motion is carried. Thank you. Opposed of any? One. Thank you. You opposed or in favor? Yeah. Okay, we are now on to approval of the agenda. Rebecca, please.
That the council agenda dated October 6, 2025 be adopted as presented.
Mover and a seconder for the agenda, moved by Councillor Goff, second by Councillor Tuyu. Questions on the agenda? I don't think I have any amendments, so all in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Do I have a disclosure of pecuniary interest by any member of council? Councillor Bell. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I had to get the right number. It is 15.2 where I am the named member.
Okay, thank you. That'll be so noted. No others, and if you find yourself in that situation later, please declare it at that time. Announcements. Just one that I'd like to make, the mail strike. So I'd like to remind everyone that due to the ongoing Canadian Post strike, there's currently no mail service available. This means residents will not be receiving or sending mail through Canada Post, including important township correspondence like bills and notices. So to stay informed, we encourage residents to sign up for township updates on our website, www.ramara.ca. Register for e-billing to receive bills by email. And you can also sign up for automatic payments. If you have a payment coming up and you're unsure of your account balance, please contact our staff and they will be happy to help you. The township will continue to monitor the situation and will provide updates on impacts to our services on the website. So thank you. Other announcements, Councillor Tuyu.
Thank you. To observe National Day of Truth and Reconciliation, since our last meeting, I've been taking the time to reflect on what it means to be an ally every day. I attended a screening of the film A Secret Path, chronicling the tragic story of Cheney Wenjack, who died of hunger and exposure as he attempted to run away from the residential school along the train tracks to get back home, 600 kilometers away, to return to his family from whom he had been taken away. Sorry, it's hard. On October 2nd, I joined in celebrating 40 years of health and wellness in Ramara at the health fair, which was aptly themed Stronger Together. It was nice to see the connection of the health experts and resources available to the Ramara community. Chief Williams summed up the holistic approach perfectly, in that good health is not only about treatment, but also about prevention, education, and community support. It was a great day where I learned a lot and had a chance to catch up with friends over a delicious bowl of soup.
Thank you. Councillor Fisher.
Thank you, Mayor. This weekend we had our first ever Udney Fest, had live music, many bands that came. We had some cloggers, some fiddlers as well. Sunshine Barbecue was there to provide sausages, hamburgers, and hot dogs. And it was a really great time. There's a number of people that came out, and the volunteers all were donning their shirts, the good, the bad, and the Udney. So that was kind of fun. And we had a really great time.
Perfect. Deputy Mayor, yes, fall, it's fair season, so
Yeah, it is,
carry
yeah.
on, carry on.
Went to the Coldwater Fall Fair, the Aurelia Fall Fair, Udney Fest, and my uncle's 70th birthday. Wishing him a happy 70th. That's all.
Awesome. This end of the table, Councillor Goff, and then I'll get you Councillor Bell.
I also attended Dudney Fest for a little brief period. I think it was a good idea, and I think we're still waiting on maybe some funding from the county, Mr. Mayor. So
I haven't got that email, actually. If
It's
somebody
been
can make
sent
sure
to
it
you.
gets to me.
it has been sent to you.
All right, I will double check and look for it. Thank you. Councillor Bell.
Thank you. I have attended some of the same events. This seems to happen as I'm number 5, but on September 27th, it was a lot of fun at the Lagoon City Community Association. They ran a family feud style night. And so there were a number of teams, everybody was dressed up, and it was tons of fun. So I just want to remind everybody that the community center is accessible to anyone in Ramara, and anybody can join. So that was a great night and a great example of how much fun it can be. September 30th, I too was in attendance at an event. I was at the 5th annual Orange Shirt Day community event hosted by Mama Way and the Regional Aboriginal Primary Care, sorry, regional, easy for me to say, the Regional Aboriginal Women's Circle. Educator Jake King kicked off, and then Elder Jeff Minogue spoke as the keynote, and it was incredibly moving to hear his family's story. And then I think it was just really cool to see the march all the way along Front Street to Couchiching Park, where the event continued. Chief Ted Williams gave his remarks there. And I think the resounding message is it's not just September 30th, but every day that we should commit to truth and reconciliation. So it was a super great night, and I would encourage anybody to, there was about 175. So I would encourage anybody to attend in the future. On October 2nd, I too was at the 40th annual Ramara Health Fair with Couchiching Ontario Health Team. And there was another special moment. Fran Masterson was honored for being the visionary for the health fair. So this was 40 years in the making, which is wonderful. And I probably think the highlight for me was to see so many children in attendance. So learning health and wellness at a young age by so many different vendors. And that was amazing. And then October 4th, I couldn't stay for Udney Fest, but I was able to stop in, wish the volunteers congratulations, and see some of the opening music and a sneak peek of Bill Nadeau. So congratulations to all the volunteers. That was an awesome event.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Again, another busy month for councillors. So public and presentations, we have none. Public and special meetings of council, we have none, but we do have some deputations today. First, I have Scott Dennis, Child and Youth Advocacy. Sorry about that, Scott. Come on up. At Central Simcoe, Muskoka. So come on up whenever you're ready, Scott. Just push the button in front of you and the mic will light up, the center button. There you go. Thank you.
Perfect. How's that? Okay. I'm Scott Denny. I'm the program manager at the CYACSM, the Child, Youth, and Advocacy Center of Simcoe, Muskoka. We have a center here in Aurelia on West North Street, 359, and a center in Barrie, but we service all of Simcoe, Muskoka. So who are we? Next slide. Thank you. We are the main hub in Simcoe, Muskoka for supporting children and youth that have experienced or witnessed abuse and exploitation, so that have been affected by violent crimes, sexual abuse, physical abuse, and human trafficking. So we support children and youth from 0 to 24 in the investigation process all the way through to the end of court if these children or youth have to attend court. So essentially, I'll give you scenario A. Traditionally, when a child or youth discloses abuse or exploitation to police or child protection, the interview process happens at a police station. Alternatively, we exist. So instead of the investigation happening predominantly at a police station, which sometimes aren't the most trauma informed, although they do their best, and we work with all 16 police detachments in Simcoe, Muskoka, the children and the non-offending family members come to our center to facilitate the investigation. So whereas these children are, of course, already naturally very traumatized from their experience, and they have to talk about pretty much the hardest thing that's ever happened to them, they come to our center to do it instead. So we facilitate the investigation. Detectives come to our center. We have advocates that greet the child or youth. We have therapy dogs, support dogs, facility dogs to facilitate the process. We meet them with snacks, toys, a very child-friendly environment. And our advocates meet them at the door and explain that they're not child protection, they're not police. They're simply there to guide the family and the children and youth through the process. Detectives come to our center to do the investigation, and more detectives and inspectors and officers are doing so. The investigation takes place at our center where it's recorded, so the child only has to tell their story once. MDTs, child protection, mental health facilitators, even RC Scan from Aurelia Soldiers Hospital. We have a medical room in our Aurelia hub where we can even do the medical examinations within the 72 hours that evidence is required to be collected. We do it right at our center. So the purpose for us is to make the healing process and the investigation process as ideal as possible for these children. Obviously, the best thing that we could ever do is to invent a time machine to go back in time and erase what's happened to these poor kids. The second best thing is that we exist. Next slide, please. So this is a very short 2-minute video. Oh, it's already playing. That's okay. This is Valeria. So Valeria is one of our survivors that has been through our center, and now she is one of our youth advocates. So we have a youth advocacy program where survivors through our center are a part of a youth advisory group, and she is one of our main spokespeople. So if you'd like to play it, Valeria will give you a quick introduction to our Aurelia Center. It might be a little bit choppy, but
Yeah, we just get the volume worked out and we'll be set to go.
So we're having issues with the audio. I might have to try and share it and through an alternative means if you want to continue on with the next part, and I'll look into this. Yeah,
I appreciate it. So we also have an Indigenous advocate. So we provide support to the Indigenous families as well. If you'd like to go to the next slide, Colin, I can continue on. There we go. So our programs. So the advocacy program is the one that I was speaking about, where we facilitate these investigations with the family. As the child or youth is giving their statement in one of our rooms, we use Axon technology, which is integrated with the Axon technology recording equipment that the police themselves use. The non-offending family members are provided support from our advocates in the form of housing, food security, any kind of support that we can offer the family and children. And we also offer immediate counseling before that these kids or family members can find support for counseling. Sometimes there's waiting lists. Sometimes the red tape is a little extensive. So right away, we offer 8 counseling sessions to every child and youth immediately, as well as the non-offending family members. Common Ground in the top right is our group that we have for female identifying folk age 12 to 18 that have been through our center. These are 7-week programs that we run both in Barrie and Aurelia for girls that are at risk of gender-based violence. So we feed them every week. We provide transportation for those that have barriers to transportation. And we talk about things like consent, gender-based violence, self-care, social media safety, and these are run by our clinical counselor, Annalise, who's in the middle picture talking to Jackson. All of these pictures are directly from our center. None of them are stock photos. Bottom left is our mobile forensic interview, and this is what we're really hoping to be able to expand. So unfortunately, Simcoe County and Muskoka is about 11,000 square kilometers. We are a team of 6. But we do provide a mobile forensic interview system for families and children that cannot get to our center. So we have a vehicle, we pack up the dogs. That's Moose, bottom right, who I wanted to bring today, but unfortunately he is facilitating an investigation. But we go to the family themselves. So we pack up the recording equipment, detectives, family connections, everybody meets us there. We bring snacks, toys for the kids. And this is what we are looking to expand so we can expand the hours, essentially. Bottom middle, we have the Child Victim Witness Support Program. This is our court support system. So we have 2 wonderful women who run the court support system, and this is helping children and youth from the beginning of the court process. Should they have to go testify about an alleged offender, we support them from day one. We provide them navigation throughout the entire process. We provide them updates. We provide moral support. We explain the entire system to the child. We're there in the court for moral support, and we follow up after court has concluded all the way through to sentencing. Bottom right is our facility dogs. We are fortunate enough to have 3 therapy support dogs in our centers that facilitate the investigations. About 99% of our children and youth prefer to have the dogs with them when they have to talk about the hardest thing that's happened to them, and we bring them around to a bunch of our events as well. Next slide, please. The reality, 1 in 3 girls and 1 in 5 boys experience an unwanted sexual act before the age of 18. Over 60% of sexual abuse victims in Canada are under the age of 18. And most horrifying, 25% of victims of abuse are under the age of 12. We have children in our center as young as 4 and 5. Typically, it's when they're old enough to be able to be verbal and disclose. But left-supported young victims are 4 times as likely to report self-harm, 26 times more likely to become homeless, and 45 times more likely to perpetrate dating violence as an adolescent if a boy was abused by a family member. This is what the numbers tell us. Survivors supported early are far more likely to thrive and contribute back into the community. We are busier than ever, as sad and as dark as that is. In the first 6 months of this year, we have done 80% of the investigations that we have done in 2024 in total. So I am going around to Midland, Innisville, Barrie, Aurelia, Ramara. Springwater has agreed to give us $10,000 for the next 2 years, but quite simply, we are just so busy and there's not enough of us, and there's just not enough support right now that we're able to give these children. Most recently, the tragedy with the Aurelia girl that drowned at the tiny beach. Our Aurelia Center was used by police to facilitate the investigations for the young witnesses that had seen that. So we are very active in as many areas as we can be, and more police are using our centers as they find that children are more likely to disclose. Our numbers are about 3 times more likely to disclose abuse if it's done at our center. Next slide, please. So obviously our caseloads and expenses have inflated. Revenue is still a battle. Like I mentioned, we are busier than ever, which is why we are doing a push for funding. We do not receive any government support. We survive each year by the executive director and myself writing as many grants as we can and writing as many letters as we can to different organizations. Next slide, please. Last year, Aurelia agreed to give us $45,000, very generous. This year, we will be asking for a similar amount. So we respectfully request $10,000 annually beginning in 2026, if that is possible. This investment will provide advocacy support for approximately, the numbers crunched, 15 Ramara families each year. Although last year we supported about 50 total people out of Ramara. That's including non-offending family members that were traumatized by the events. It will sustain prevention programs like Common Ground for local youth. This is the female support group that we are now trying to launch for boys as well, as we know boys are being left behind, and ensure facility dog support for children during the investigations and court proceedings. So your investment would help leverage provincial, federal, and foundation funding that requires local buy-in. I would invite any of you and all of you to come for a tour to our center if you would like. I promise you we would have the dogs there at that time. And really, we are just looking to be able to continue this program as we feel it is integral to the healing journey of children affected by abuse and violent crime in your and our community. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Scott. And again, I wish we didn't need your services, but thank you for everything you folks do, because it is very, very important. And, you know, good timing that you're here, because we're heading into our budget season here shortly. So your timing is impeccable with that request. I will open it up to the floor. I'll start with Councillor Fisher.
Thank you. Did I hear you correct that, and I understand I'm not asking this to be a smart aleck. It's up to the age of 24 or
Yes.
in including 24?
We do 0 to 24.
How long has the organization been around?
In Simcoe, Muskoka, 14 years.
Okay, just out of
Yeah.
curiosity. So, and if there were a family that was at the doctors or at Emerge, like the doctors are aware of this program,
Yeah.
and how to access?
They are, yes. So outreach has been a large part of this. We have been in the separate board for 2 years. I used to be a supply teacher in the public school system, and we are making great headway into getting into the public school system, not to educate the children, but to educate the teachers. We also work closely with the Aurelia OPP. We are invited once a month to their RC scan, which is an oversight committee where a few nonprofits, including ourselves, go and we provide recommendations on how they choose 5 sexual assault cases that could have been handled better, for lack of a better word. And we're part of an oversight committee once a month off of Memorial there, providing recommendations on how sex assault investigations could be done better, essentially. So outreach has been a big part of this, trying to get into YMCAs. They've been incredible. Yes.
Is there, oh, sorry.
Yes, carry on.
Has there been opportunity to expand some advocacy, maybe even into pharmacists? Not that that would be typically something you would disclose to a pharmacist, but we do have a lot of families in the province all over the place without doctors. And now that pharmacists do have the ability for some of the more minor, more common things, new relationships are being built with pharmacists and families. So that would be one way that I can also think about outreach and consideration, or even, and I recognize it being a non-secular program, but even into places of worship.
Right.
Sometimes there's some disclosure to a Sunday school teacher or
Right.
to your priest or something.
Right. That's an incredible idea. I've been in this role for about 5 months. There's only 4 of us on this side and 2 in the court support side. Outreach has been a little bit of a slow go, but children and youth that are referred to us, it's through police and child protection. So any child or youth that we see in our center, the matter has been brought to the attention of police and child protection first.
One more, carry on.
Yeah, sorry, just one more, and maybe it would be a final wrap-up thing when everyone else has done their question, but I'll give you a second to think about an answer. Like besides the money, obviously, because that's key, what else can we do in our positions or even in our community to help support and the center? Like, is there something that we can do besides writing a big fat check? Is there something else we can do as well to support?
Great question. The fact that 10 15 more people know about us if they didn't before is more than enough for me. But we will take any invitation for outreach or community participation that is offered to us. We've gone to golf tournaments, charity events, the YMCA's social safe workers in schools event in Barrie. We just attended about one event a week I attend, and I'm more than happy to participate and volunteer in any way that we can.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you very much for this. Thank you for the work you do. So I spent about 6 years in this field working with addiction with youth. And it is such a correlation between that and the abuse of kids growing up. It's such important work. My sister is actually Native, and she is a protective custody. She's in protective services for CAS, and they're overwhelmed. So I think that your service is absolutely needed, and you have my support. Hopefully we can have room in the budget for this. And I would strongly recommend you look at the county and approach them, because I see you're hitting each municipality. It might be easier going to that upper tier, and everybody's money is filtered through there anyways. It might be a better way to.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'm waiting to hear back from the region of Simcoe and Muskoka in regards to my deputation requests.
All right, I'm trying to decide, do I throw, they're right here today.
Sorry, that was no intention to throw anybody under the bus. I know we're all extremely busy.
All right. Councillor Snodge.
Yeah, thank you very much for the presentation. But I just want to reemphasize that, Deputy Mayor, I don't know why this isn't a Simcoe County thing, which you can deal with everybody at once. But if they don't want to deal with it, I don't know why, then I would strongly support that we take some action here.
Any other comments? Councillor Bell, go ahead.
Thank you. I too am in support. And I just do have one question. Do you already do, and you may have said this, an annual fundraiser or a gala or something that that helps you to have that kind of larger presence in
Great
a fundraising
question.
setting?
Great question. Thank you, Councillor. It is being planned. Our strategy for that is being planned as we speak. We've had some pretty incredible turnover in the last 8 months. The team that we have now, I don't see going anywhere for a while. So that's part of our fundraising strategy. And I would like to say, just for the record, that the request to the Simcoe and Muskoka region was just sent.
All right, perfect. Councillor Tuyu.
Thank you. Thank you for all the work you're doing. I just wanted to, can you explain a little bit more about the mobile office aspect of what you do? Because I think it's so important for people sort of out here where it's easy to be more vulnerable to the abuse if you're in an isolated area.
Absolutely. So we have MOUs with different facilities and organizations around as well that allow us to use their space, whether it's New Path, Chigamik and Midland, many places. If at the home of the youth or child is not ideal, we have alternate locations. But essentially what we do is we have a vehicle that was donated to us, that we have full access to full time. And so we pack that up with our team and the dogs and the snacks, and we will head to a location of their choosing. A lot of times, surprisingly, it does happen at the home, but it doesn't always.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Goff.
I think it's a great service that you're providing, and you just picked the right day because you have county here and we have the warden here. So you should be able to get a deputation with Simcoe County, I would assume. If you don't, let me know and I'll start talking to the warden and county more and the deputy mayor, because I think this is a great program and a great service that's needed. It's unfortunate that it's needed, but continue with the great work.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? So thank you, Scott. Councillor Bell, yes.
Sorry, just one more thing that I should have noted. Scott, I don't know, and you may already do this, and I just don't recall you being in the call, but Couchiching Ontario Health Team does have the collaboration table, which meets monthly, typically, or every bi-monthly. And it's a great opportunity to interface with some of the other providers in Couchiching region who are providing different aspects of service. So if you aren't already a part of that table, it might be a great idea for you to join, and then that way you can find a path to some of the other services.
Perfect.
And you can email me if you like. Yeah, if you like, you can email me and I'll direct you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. If there's no other questions, thank you, Scott. And we'll have a motion at the end of the meeting.
Thank you.
Okay, next I do have the County of Simcoe here, and I see Mina already handing out his cards. So our General Manager, Mina Fayez-Beguet, if you want to come up, Mina, and introduce the county team, that would be great. He's our General Manager of Social and Community Services.
Good morning, everyone. Through you, Mayor Clark. I'm Mina Fayez-Beguet, the General Manager of Social Community Services at the County of Simcoe. Thank you for giving us the time this morning to kind of share some of the services we deliver. We're trying to be a little bit more proactive in sharing those services as there's a lot happening in our community and our sector, just so that it's better understood what are our responsibilities. So today you'll hear from 3 out of the 4 service areas that we primarily support. So you'll hear from our Director of Early Learning and Child Care System Service Management. You'll hear from our Director of Homelessness and Housing and Homelessness Services, and you'll hear from our Director of Community Services, Community Housing Services as well. So just to set that up, each will share how the County of Simcoe is empowered to do this work, what its mandate is. Essentially, we have both federal and provincial mandates that are designated to us. So we are one of 47 system service managers for those service areas I just mentioned, and as well as on a federal level, we're one of 60 service managers for the homelessness portfolio as well. So I won't take up much more of your time, but we're available for questions after. So I will introduce our first speaker, which is Director Brad Spiewak, Director of Community Housing.
Thanks, Mina.
Good morning,
Brad.
Your Worship, members of council. As Mina said, I'm Brad Spiewak, Director of Community Housing. To try to give you a nice overview of what's going on in housing. Obviously, we're hearing lots about housing in the news, and certainly it is on top of everybody's mind. So there's lots going on. I'm always lucky. I get to show a lot more pictures in my presentation. It's a lot more tangible, it seems, but hopefully that can give you some good illustration of what's going on, but also not just works in bigger communities, but can also work in smaller communities like Ramara. Next slide. So next slide. So Birch Street. So this is an example in Collingwood where actually the town of Collingwood owned this property. It's a very small 9 units, so rather unutilized land. And through the county's municipal call, where in housing services, we actually went out and said, does any municipalities, do you have land or buildings you might be interested in donating to the county's Simcoe County Housing Corporation that we could either intensify or operate? So this is one example. Next slide. And this is what's going to replace that. So this is actually a very nice intensification. This is a modular build, and you'll notice it actually doesn't look very modular. We like to say it looks quite residential. This is the county's, I'd say, foray into what we would call a medium-sized modular. We have quite a bit of experience with small-scale modular. But at 30 units, this is what we'd call medium. There are certainly larger modulars that we're seeing across Canada. There's a big 6-story going up in Charlottetown by the same contractor that's building this one. But again, it gives you a good idea. Hopefully it looks, like I said, very nice residential and tasteful in a neighborhood. Next slide. And that's just a rear view of it. Next slide. One thing we did find out as we've got into modular is you certainly don't have the flexibility that you have in traditional construction. If you can imagine, all these modules got to fit on a truck. So there's a certain width restriction. So when you start building all the pieces together, we start going, oh, we don't have the room we thought, or we'll have to try to make this room work here, or how to join rooms. Or anyways, it's been kind of an interesting design thing. However, even in a small building, we still have room for a tenant common room and a program room where we can deliver services. Usually we have a community kitchen in there that can be used by the neighborhood, or programming, as well as a small bike storage area, or e-bikes and things like that. And indoor garbage is always something that anybody knows in municipalities, garbage is always a hot topic, right? So if we can try to keep that indoors, and make it easy for residents to not only use but recycle, it obviously then impacts certainly our disposal costs. Next slide. So to date on this one, we actually moved out all the tenants that were in there. We've done all our public information sessions. We've done all of our studies. We're right into our ZBA process and getting the final drawings ready to go for manufacture. Next slide. We actually got demolition underway about 2 weeks ago. So this was, again, very interesting. Actually got to bring in the heavy equipment and take down the existing buildings since they've been empty anyways and getting ready. Hopefully, in a perfect world, we're trying to get some site services going in before the ground freezes up and it's buried in snow, but we'll see how that goes. Everything goes well. We're looking at opening this building sort of late next summer, early fall. Next slide. And that's just a quick overview of the timing. So we're kind of midway. You can see in the timeline just around where that star is, but hopefully all the units will be getting made actually down in New Brunswick and Fredericton and actually getting shipped up early spring. And then in a very quick timeline, you can see this is about a year build, which is fairly quick. Historical, very traditional construction were 18 months, 24 months for this size of building, but basically from kicking off to basically be getting ready to occupancy, we're just around 12 months, which is pretty good. And hopefully a lot less disruption to the neighborhood. As we know, no one really likes to live next to a construction site. Next slide. Certainly this is the largest one. It's probably had a fair bit of airtime out there, and that's the large Rose Street build. So significant number. I can imagine very large urban center in Barrie, certainly our greatest population, our greatest need in that area with just by pure numbers. But a fairly large building now with the 2 towers and all the services, and unfortunately parking garages. So again, one of those, unfortunately, when we get into the urban areas, the cost of parking garages do come into play. Next slide. So this is where we are now. You can actually, we've been pouring a lot of concrete. The weather's been actually quite favorable over the last few weeks. So I think we'll be pushing close to 400 cubic meters we'll have in the ground probably this week. Which is great. So this one's coming along, and again, trying to get as much of that underground done here. But again, same thing. We're always beating the weather and doing our best to try to get it before it gets too cold. Next slide. So this is certainly an interesting one, what I call small scale acquisitions. It can be cheaper to purchase things than to build things from scratch. You get out of all the soft costs and site services. So if certain things aren't in bad condition or need, minor renovations, you can certainly look at the business cases. Does it make sense to renovate something or actually try to build something new? So this was 2 fourplexes we purchased in Penetang. So again, a very small, cost-effective, small town sort of solution that's worked well. The building that you see just on to the right of the housing units, there is actually an existing housing building we own. So I'm always very watchful when things go up for sale right next to our existing stock. All of a sudden now, if you think from an operating lens, it becomes fairly less expensive to operate because you already have staff on site. The guy can keep cutting the grass. If there's a repair that it's needed, our superintendent just walks across the grass and can fix that toilet or the sink versus putting somebody in a car or a truck and sending them an hour away. So this has worked out very well. Next slide. Another example of acquisitions and conversions. So this was a supportive housing build, if you want to say, that was done in the city of Barrie. So it was built actually by a not-for-profit, and then they ran into some financial issues and it went up for sale. The county purchased it. We did the renovations and actually at a very competitive cost per unit was able to get this on the market for supportive housing. Next slide. Legacy stock. So just to be a quick one, this was an example of a very typical example of a number of old housing buildings across the province, all 2-story walk-ups, no elevators. This is a small one in Penetang again. But what do we do with some of this legacy stock? How do we intensify it? Or what can we do from an accessibility standpoint? So if we look at the next slide, what we're actually looking at here is putting on a 3rd floor. So this will be something that we'll be taking to county council, certainly the Simcoe County Housing Board, and then also in the 2026 county council budget. Certainly much cheaper to add a 3rd floor than it is to build a whole new building. Again, that cost per unit gets much better, but we can also do a deep energy retrofit. We can add an elevator. Unfortunately, right now in the Midland Penetang area, we don't have any elevators in SCHC. So aging in place is certainly becoming, it has been an issue, but you can imagine it's becoming even a greater issue. So try to sneak some elevators onto a building and get an extra 11 units on an extra floor, wrap it all up nice in insulation, and we can try to renew some of this old housing stock. Next slide. Second suites and infill. So not only are we, the county has programs that encourage the creation of secondary suites, we're trying to do it with our own housing stock as well. So the county owns a significant number of houses in the Midland and Penetang area. A number of them are on large lots and have actually a good housing layout. There's about 20, 30 of them that are almost all the same. So we can do a model second suite in one, and then again, very cost effectively try to replicate that across the system. So we're trying to roll a number of those out. The other thing is we also have a huge shortage of one bedrooms. We often have a lot of people staying in a house, especially in our urban native portfolio. No, that's kind of what the actual name from the province that the program is called. But a lot of them is now a single individual living in an entire house because the family is grown up, the kids have moved out, but there are no one bedrooms for them to go. Therefore, they stay in a one bedroom house. So if we can create some smaller one bedrooms, not only do we get the benefit of intensifying and creating that extra bedroom, but we free up a larger house that a family desperately needs as well. So again, it's very cost effective and it can be done on a small, or if government funding from the feds or the province come in, we can try to scale that up as well. Next slide. And then the last one here we're looking at is doing with the garden suite. So similarly, we have some that can housing lots that work well for as I said, for creation of second suites, but we can also do it for garden suites. So we did a pilot just recently where we went out for almost like a design competition, seeking garden suites from a number of different manufacturers. We got a few submissions and we're proceeding right away with 2 of those designs. And then we're going to go back out again and try to get a third design going. So again, very quick, we can just drop an accessory dwelling unit into a backyard. And again, that's an example of one of the houses, again, in Midland Penetang area, where there's several like that have those large yards that can support a little bit of infill and creation of an additional unit. Next slide. And I think that's it.
Councillor Goff, go ahead.
Thank you very much for your presentation so far. Just a quick question. If something was to happen in a Ramara, what's the time frame from the thought process is, oh yeah, we're going to do something in Ramara to we actually have shovels in the ground and something's being built? Yeah.
No pressure on that one,
Yeah,
Brad.
no, it's through your worship. It's an interesting question, but it'll depend on what it is. So if it's something like a house or a fourplex, something came up for sale that we're aware of, that's fairly quick. You don't need to get shovels in the ground. We can take it over or purchase it. Maybe there's some renovations and you're looking at a turnaround time of 4 to 6 months with council reports as well as closing periods in real estate. In a modular build, what we've seen, if everything is more or less zoned and ready, that's going to be your biggest obstacle always. If the zone, the OPA is supportive, you don't need to go through the ZBA process. Maybe worst case, a minor variance and have everything ready. In a modular, we're seeing about call it a year, a 12 to 14 month turnaround. If you're doing traditional construction and we're going through OPAs and hopefully not an OPA, but even a ZBA, now we're in the 18 to 24. Right. So again, it's going to depend on the solution that you're seeking. Certainly, I can't stress enough to have the zoning, your OPA flexible enough to take it with your planning department, the ZBAs all set up as we know typically for densities per hectare, parking variances, potentially height variances, all those things. If that's already done in your town OPA, then obviously things go quicker and smoother.
Thank you very much.
Any other? Councillor Bell, yeah, I think I see your hand. Maybe I'll get pulled down and we can see Councillor Bell. Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you. My question is a little bit of a top up on Councillor Goff's, I guess, and not just how long does it take, but are you actually actively looking at anything in Ramara today? And how, so when you say that you're monitoring, like what does that process look like? This is an active process where you're monitoring each township, or have you identified target properties that you would want to have if they became available? Like just explain a little bit more about how that process works so I can understand how Ramara might find its way into it. Thank you.
Go ahead, Brad.
No, through your worship, and it's a very good question. I'd say there's 2 processes, or maybe actually even 3 processes that are going on concurrently. So number 1 is the formal, whenever the province or schools disposition of land or buildings, there is a formal process where that does go through the county, where they actually get like a almost like a first right of refusal prior to going into the, if you want to say, the public realm or the public market where you can get into bidding work. So we have obtained, for instance, the school in Aurelia was obtained through that process. The OPP lands in Barrie at 20 Rose were through that process. So that would be one way, right? So if it's, let's say, a school or something provincially or federally owned were to come up, we would kind of hear about that process. The second process is through our municipal calls for proposal. So we've done it twice now. We will be doing it again. So at the local level, if you're aware of anything that's coming up, that is one means of doing it, letting us know that something's coming. Of course, you can always bring it at our attention outside of that process, but that would be the formal way. The third way is through the county's real estate department. We are always looking and have some targeted areas. So anything around our buildings, I always have my own staff as well as real estate staff looking if something comes up. Obviously, we don't have any housing currently under SCHC in Ramara Township, so that situation wouldn't come up. However, it would be going through those other methods.
Okay. Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, I'll just add to that as well. Councillor Bell, just to bring everybody up to speed, the CAO Jackson and myself have actually been in touch with General Manager Fayez Baguette. We're organizing a tour of the township to look at all of our properties to see if anything fits into that category, and hopefully we can maybe possibly partner on something in the future, but we are reviewing that.
Okay, good morning, Council. My name is Andrew Scavarelli. I'm the Director of Housing and Homelessness at the County of Simcoe. And I know to Brad made a comment earlier, you probably don't have to flip too many pages of a newspaper or scroll too far on news outlets or social media online to hear references to homelessness, encampments, and housing as a whole. So I have a couple slides today just to highlight some of the undertakings, but I think it'll probably be most beneficial use of my time to just kind of break down sort of what it is that we do and maybe debunk some myths around housing and homelessness, especially as it relates to a county perspective. So I'm going to introduce and to share that we are the Consolidated Municipal Service Manager. So we are legislatively responsible for delivering both housing programs and homelessness services throughout the county, including the two separated cities of Barrie and Aurelia. And the housing programs team and the homelessness services team, they're two unique portfolios. However, there's a lot of intersectionality in the work we do. And I will try and tie that into kind of that broader housing continuum. So maybe I'll start with the housing programs. And essentially, Brad's team is responsible for the development of our housing stock and supporting the tenants that reside in those housing units as part of the Simcoe County Housing Corporation. The housing programs really bridges the work from the homelessness team and the individuals within the Simcoe County Housing Corporation. So they are responsible for managing the centralized wait list. So affordable housing, we hear that term all the time. Like, what's affordable? So affordable housing is traditionally defined as no more than 30% of an individual or family's income being going towards shelter costs. So to support affordable housing, that could come in the form of rent geared to income. We might hear the term RGI out there quite a bit. We have about 4,000 rent geared to income units across Simcoe County. So that's both through our Simcoe County Housing Corporation and our nonprofits throughout the county. It could be subsidized rentals and also some new builds that Brad had highlighted as well. So rent geared to income, RGI units, is traditionally what you would see across lots of housing corporations across the province. And the benefit of that, like I said, is no more than 30% of an individual's income would be going towards rent. And this is managed through a centralized wait list. So you might have individuals that you might have heard are on wait lists or have applied for rent geared income housing. The benefit of having those deep subsidies and making it affordable is sometimes offset by the length of the wait lists. And although we do have special priorities, so it could be individuals who are survivors of human trafficking, individuals who are survivors of intimate partner violence, they would be ranked in different priorities. Which you could see housed within about a year. It's really challenging to ballpark wait lists because they do fluctuate. Individuals, when they apply, are able to select specific geographical locations, specific housing builds themselves. So obviously the more open they are to where they reside in terms of RGI, the quicker they'll get housed, because those offers will only come up when an available unit becomes available. So on the contrary, a standard individual on the wait list right now, you could see around 8 years. So that's where the next piece really comes into, I guess, demonstrates its value in connecting individuals to affordable housing, and that is through our rent supplements. And so rent supplements are programs that are essentially a supplement to the individual's income that will make their units affordable. And we've leveraged this in a couple different ways. So I think one that's been in the news quite a bit is the county has acquired several modular facilities, not the modular construction that Brad spoke to, but modular facilities in the terms of former mining camps that we've actually been able to procure from Western Canada. And so we have a seniors modular facility in Collingwood that is for 55 plus. We've had that stood up, so we've got full occupancy. So 13 individuals at a time receive 24/7 on-site supports. And we've had 18 people in the program over the last 8 months, and we've housed permanently 13 of them already. So that in itself demonstrates the outflow. So that is getting people who are homeless, typically in emergency shelter settings, and we bring them into their lower acuity, so stronger likelihood of being able to obtain housing and retain it. So by moving them out of shelter settings into these modular facilities where they have the 24/7 access to supports housing workers, they're able to connect them with more permanent housing outcomes because we layer in supplements, rent supplements, to make any prospective housing outcomes affordable. And what that does is that frees up shelter spaces. So emergency shelters, by removing those individuals with a strong likelihood of being housed, we're then able to bring in individuals who are currently living outdoors. And we know the number of individuals that are living in camps throughout Simcoe County. So as much as it's important of housing people, it also creates inflow into the emergency shelter system. So those individuals can come indoors and get those supports. We have 9 emergency shelters across Simcoe County, and we also operate formerly known as the motel voucher program. So it's a temporary family shelter. We do not have designated family shelters within Simcoe County. So we rely on partnerships with various motels and hotels. And a big piece to consider is that we operate on a regional basis. So we connect individuals regardless of location with appropriate supports and services, whether it's through emergency shelters, the motel voucher program, and even our recently revised assertive outreach program. So Waypoint Center for Mental Health and Addiction is our regional outreach provider. Those individuals operate 7 days a week. They have a consortium of outreach teams throughout Simcoe County who are working very diligently to connect individuals who are unhoused and unsheltered to the appropriate resources and services. So I think in terms of the broader continuum, it's connecting individuals who are unhoused and unsheltered to emergency shelters, to other indoor options, then utilizing some creative programs such as our rapid rehousing programs to get individuals with the supports to quickly connect them to permanent housing opportunities. And I think that kind of is, in a nutshell, the housing continuum. Next slide, please. And again, these couple slides here just kind of highlighted some of the key undertakings that our team is going through right now. So we do have 2 additional modular facilities. Sorry, I didn't reference the one in Aurelia. It's actually a youth rapid rehousing program as well. That was our first rapid rehousing program. We have 2 more modular facilities located in Barrie. That one is currently supporting the Heart Hub, which is the homeless addiction recovery treatment. So we've had our 3rd cohort actually through detox and through treatment already within the first couple of months. So we were the first Heart Hub to operationalize in the province. And we're seeing some successful outcomes already. So those are individuals that are homeless, that do require supports with mental health addictions. And to have our 3rd cohort of 12, cohorts of 12, already through the initial treatment and onto the supportive housing piece is a pretty remarkable outcome. And we also have a new 40-unit modular arriving momentarily, and that'll be pretty critical to our winter response strategy. Last year, we relied pretty heavily on motels, but we're pretty confident this year in our ability to stand up additional bedded programs within our existing shelter and modular facilities. So a big piece too that I think I just want to tie in before I turn things over to Sam is a lot of our decisions is really based around data informed information, and we have a live dashboard. And if you're not familiar with it, it's open.simco.ca. And we continue to add different dashboards that speak to shelter utilization, inflow, outflow from shelters, homelessness information. You'll see as of this morning, if you went on and drill down to to Ramara Township, it identifies currently 10 individuals who are experiencing homelessness in Ramara. And we get that information through our, it's a federal database, so it's called HIFIS, the Homelessness Individuals and Families Information System. So our goal is to get user agreements in place with the hands of anyone who might come into contact with individuals experiencing homelessness. Think food banks, outreach teams, libraries, our social services staff, shelter providers. So the individuals that, say, for example, in Ramara, there's 10 of them identified. It has none of them currently residing in emergency shelters. So likely someone is sheltered in the sense that they're unhoused, but they're sheltered in the sense that they might be couch surfing, staying with family and friends, but accessing one of those points where they have identified to a worker that they are not, that they are experiencing homelessness despite being sheltered at the present time. So it could have been very well someone at a local food bank or a library that they've accessed services, and therefore their profile was created, which then feeds into our live dashboards. So on that note, I'll pause there. I know it's a lot of information, but certainly happy to take questions now, or if it's more appropriate, I can wait till after Sam is finished as well.
We'll take them right now. We realize it's putting you over time, but that's fine.
Yeah.
We're looking for the dialogue. I've got Councillor Fisher first and then Councillor Goff.
Thank you. One of the things that you had mentioned earlier on, and then when you just summed up your presentation about getting with connections to other people who might come across individuals that might be experiencing homelessness. The Legion we have an individual that was homeless living in Ramara, and he was staying in a tent in somebody's backyard, and he's a vet. And Veteran Affairs certainly was able to, within a week, have this person homed. So I'm sure you're aware, I don't need to tell you, but I'm sure you're aware, but I did want to point out for people that are listening too, like if they are aware of anybody who is experiencing homeless, that there are programs and services that are available. And sometimes individuals, even individuals who have served, didn't know that that was available. This individual didn't. So there certainly are opportunities as well.
Thank you, Councillor. And to that point, it's I think you're spot on. Veteran Affairs has a lot of very much dedicated programs and even funding opportunities, including rent supplements. So it's one of the priorities that was just recently designated with our federal funders is around families and veterans. So we have been working quite closely with them to better define out how we can best support that population group. So really appreciate you sharing that.
Councillor Goff.
Very good presentation. I have a question. How do you determine the number of homelessness? Because I know right now there's a controversy between County of Simcoe and City of Barrie on what numbers. So if you could explain to the public.
Absolutely. Great question. And I'll maybe start by saying it is challenging because of the transient nature of individuals experiencing homelessness, and not just transient within respective municipalities or even across Simcoe County as a whole. Individuals do move between regions and between counties within the province. With that said, we are a firm believer that the more number of individuals that we could give access to our federal database, HIFIS, that is real-time data. I know other municipalities, you referenced the City of Barrie, there was a lot of reference to the point-in-time count, which is a federally mandated snapshot in a very tight time frame. So it was last one would have been October of 2024. So the numbers references, it's everyone who's come in contact with an individual who's identified experiencing homelessness over a 3-day period, which in our opinion is not necessarily the most accurate because of Well, that's a year ago, right? So we see the numbers increasing substantially. So if you go onto our open database, our dashboard, it's live data and it's updated several times a day from the federal database that we have over 300 users in Simcoe County updating on a daily basis. So there's unique profiles that are built. So there's no duplication of individuals. It's not that someone could have potentially been counted twice, like you could see in a point in time count. So we utilize the HIFIS data. So the open.simcoe.ca is our what we base a lot of our decision making and data on, and it's very clean data. We actually were just given some additional praise from the federal government around achieving certain levels of accuracy within the data. So we rely heavily on that program.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, you could even tell how many were in each shelter last night or how many are there currently right now as we speak.
Absolutely.
Right. Councillor Bell.
Thank you. This question, I know you're not going to necessarily have the answer to this question. I think it's half statement and more than it is question. But because the only data we can use is data that is arrived at when someone touches a particular system. And so this isn't just for Simcoe County, but in general, how can you estimate the real or actual number when we know that not everybody touches the system? So do you have a metric that you use at county that says if we know there's 10 in Ramara, then potentially there's X?
Yeah, there's no specific formula. It's a great question, Councillor. So like I said, our goal is going to be continuing to enhance the number of users of HIFIS. And we know there will always be, for lack of better terms, the hidden homeless. The individuals who might not access services and supports despite being a homeless. We're seeing a lot of individuals, even just through a lot of our outreach and encampment responses, a lot of individuals that are really entrenched in the outdoor. I don't like the term survivalist, but they've been outdoors for years and do not want to come inside. And I think that's a myth that is often out there, is that we could force someone to come in and stay in a shelter, and we simply cannot force someone to come in. So the best avenue to ensure that we have accurate data is worry about, obviously, it's the County of Simcoe, what we're tracking. But I know on a federal position, or from a federal perspective as well, they're really trying to enhance other municipalities to follow what we did in terms of public facing dashboards. We were the first municipality in the province to have a real-time dashboard with the breadth and depth of the data that we're sharing publicly. We believe in transparency. We want people to know what we're seeing in terms of shelter utilization, in terms of homelessness, in terms of individuals that are in these vulnerable situations. So while there is no perfect solution, there are some great legway that's happening now. There's a lot of agencies, I think, of help seekers technologies. They're the individuals that wrote the AMO report on homelessness. So that was released earlier this year. If you haven't read it, it's actually paints a pretty stark image around the challenges that we're seeing provincially. With that, we have some beneficial indicators in Simcoe County in comparison to some of the provincial averages, and I think that's a testament to some of the forward-thinking and more progressive approaches we've taken with rapid rehousing programs, rent supplements, et cetera. But the AMO report, I think that shows there's over 80,000 people homeless in Simcoe County in the province of Ontario. But it's a good read. But I think as time goes on, both the federal and provincial governments have emphasized the importance on data and clean data across all municipalities. And I'm sure a lot of that will be tied to future funding opportunities, because we will be able to clearly demonstrate the immediate need now and break it down by populations, which will probably give us the best position to apply for any one-time funding that might arrive as well.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I wanted to have that opportunity for you to highlight the unique approach that county's been taking. So I appreciate your response. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor.
Thank you. Councillor Fisher.
Thank you. I have a question too, but I do want to make a statement about and I want to say it again, your open.simcoe.ca website. In this role, of course, we're constantly looking for grant opportunities and we need data to support it. And I admittedly, and maybe a bit of a nerd in me, spends about 13 hours a week on that site looking for the information to help fill out. So it has been an absolutely incredible tool. So I can speak very highly of the information that's on there, and I do see the changes that are constantly happening. Maybe I should ask this in the last presentation that Brad had done, so maybe you can answer it, maybe Brad can or Mina. Is there anything that's being done at the county, or this might not even be something that can happen at the county, any opportunities for assisting existing landlords who might want to be able to support housing at a more affordable rate, but maybe can't afford that on their mortgage. They need to cover their bills as well.
Go ahead, Mina.
Through you, Warden Clark, thanks for the question, Councillor Fisher. Yes, so our next 10-year affordable homelessness and housing strategy is hopefully going to council in the next few weeks. It's at the committee level right now. Actually, it was just went through committee on Friday with Chair Bell at that committee. So that plan is the next 10 years of how we're going to create more affordability in the county and protect affordability that already exists. So there you're going to see a lot of interesting approaches, private-public partnerships, private nonprofit partnerships, nonprofit-public partnerships, as well as investing in infrastructure and development, as Brad said. One thing we do know is that we can't develop our way out of it. We have to find existing infrastructure, conversion opportunities, acquisition opportunities like Brad went through, but we also need to partner with a lot of our existing landlords who are ready and willing to support. A lot of it also will be an advocacy tool that says this is how much we can do as our own as a municipality. This is how much we can do in partnership with the federal and provincial governments. So it has like targeted goals saying that if we're all matching each other's contribution, we can hit a penultimate goal. And if we only go at it our alone, we're still going to serve at the same service standard that we've achieved over the last 10 years. So look forward to that. But part of that will have advocacy. I know on our affordable housing advisory committee, we have members that represent the landlord community, associations and different groups like that as well. So they're actually helping advise us on how to deliver on those outcomes and on those targets. And then finally, we constantly try to go back to those communities and see if we can, sign up more. We do also have different grant programs like Housing Opportunity Fund and things like that, where developers or landlords or whomever can apply and demonstrate to us how they're going to either create affordable housing or maintain it or expand it. So there's lots of different ways to do it. It's just a matter of once the plan gets into place and it's accepted by the province, then we can start rolling out its implementation.
Follow up? Yes, go ahead.
So a little bit of a follow up, but it might be way out too far out in left field right now to even have this conversation. With my work that I've done with food affordability and food insecurity, a lot of the numbers overlap. And by using your information portal, I know that a lot of our families that are food insecure isn't necessarily because they're unemployed or even underemployed. Of course, there is that. One of the advocacy pieces that we're moving forward with, rooted into our next quarter, is to do some work and engaging with businesses and being a living wage employer. And I know that there's a correlation with that, but is that some of the work that you're doing through housing as well, so that affordable housing might actually be affordable to some families too?
Through you, Mayor Clark. Yes, so the 10-year strategy, the affordable 10-year strategy does kind of cover the whole continuum of housing, not just it starts from homelessness and into like the subsidized different programs you heard about today, but it also goes all the way to our attainable housing strategy in general and captures that what we call the missing middle. A lot of the affordable housing builds that we're building right now that Brad shared are mixed income communities to allow a variety of different levels of rent and subsidies based on the needs. In terms of food insecurity, the one pillar that's not here today, our fourth director, Amy Marshall, she's the director of community support and well-being. And really that's working with people who are trying to get on track to employment and families, as well as brokering partnerships locally to continue to support them to be job ready. And then another part of the development of the dashboard and the data comes to the Community Partnerships Office. And that office is particularly focused on food insecurity. And we're about to kind of share a response to the City of Aurelia's recent declaration on food insecurity. And the plan is, and really it's the community safety well-being plans that you all participated in. Those plans are going to be the centerpiece of trying to have one common goal across the whole county, all five different community safety and wellbeing plans focused on food insecurity. So you'll hear a little bit more about that in the next few months. Maybe we'll come back and share that when it's ready.
Okay. Oh, Councillor Snodge.
Thank you. I heard you say there was 80,000 homeless in Ontario. Can you give me for Simcoe and Ramara the number of homeless that we have now and in your 10-year plan, where you expect that to be in 10 years?
Andrew?
Yes, Councillor. So we have 20, just over 2,200 identified as experiencing homelessness in Simcoe County, 10 here in Ramara. I think the important piece to note is there's a lot of unknown locations. So when you go on the dashboard, you could break it down. We would have probably at any given time, we have 200, just under 250 funded shelter beds. About the same number are currently in motel settings. So that leaves quite a few individuals that are likely or that are identified as couch surfing, staying with family, friends. We have some that are living in cars. So there's a lot that you will see as unknown, and that's individuals that likely touched one of the food banks or breakfast programs or libraries. They were tracked but didn't disclose their present location. So it is definitely not 200 or 2,200 unsheltered. That number is substantially less. And I know we're seeing in the city of Barrie right now that there's about 600 that are identified as homeless. We have just under 100 that are actually unsheltered, and those are the ones that are in encampments. So the numbers do fluctuate a lot. We actually don't have a projected forecast for as part of the 10-year housing and homelessness prevention strategy. Health Seekers Technology did run forecasts, but again, just given the fluctuations, we operate really in real-time data right now, and use the real-time data as opposed to trying to predict something. And I will say, just because a lot of the inputs into what's causing people to experience homelessness are not within the county's control, let alone any of our municipalities or even the cities. Social assistance rates haven't increased since 2018 for Ontario Works. The number of individuals that we're seeing entering homelessness, many seniors now, because of potential marriage breakdowns, the inability to maintain one income on a household. We're seeing survivors of intimate partner violence. Those numbers are all increasing. So I think it's a bit risky to try and project out homelessness. Instead, really using the data that we have presently to continue our advocacy efforts behind the scenes with various levels of government. And I'll just wrap up by saying, the notion that any one level of government or any organization is either responsible for the challenges we're seeing with homelessness and housing, but also is not going to be able to solve the challenges we're seeing either. It's going to take a whole of community. It's going to take every level of government and all agencies in alignment and moving forward.
Okay. I'm not seeing many more questions, and I'll go on to Samantha. Come on up for the early learning and childcare updates.
Good morning, Your Worship, members of council. Yes, we're going to shift gears a little bit now and look at our youngest residents across the county. I am the Director of Early Learning and Childcare System Management for the county. So next slide, please. We are the service system manager that is responsible for planning, managing, and administering funding to early learning and childcare services. So that includes licensed childcare programs, which at this point in time we're approaching 230 across the county. And that's a combination of center-based childcare and home-based childcare agencies. We also support the early on child and family centers and special needs resourcing agencies that support inclusion for children attending these programs. Next slide, please. Earlier this year, we had our 5-year service system plan approved by County Council. These are sort of our 3 key focuses of the intentions of the work that we do. So we want to make sure that there is an inclusive and accessible early learning and childcare experience for children, that there is a thriving, sustainable workforce that is able to support that system, and that we're working through a cohesive community planning and strategic action plan as we go through that process. Next slide, please. Probably of greatest note at this point in time is the Canada-wide Early Learning and Childcare Program. So that is the $10 a day childcare, or often referred to as $10 a day childcare. You'll hear me refer to it by the acronym CWELC. So the intention of CWELC is to reduce the cost of childcare for children 0 to 5 to $10 a day. by the end of 2026. At this point in time, the cap on fees is $22 a day. This is a bilateral agreement between the province and the federal government. And so as in addition to reducing the cost of childcare, there is also an expectation to increase access. So from 2019 until now, they're looking at creating a total of 86,000 new high quality licensed childcare spaces by the end of 2026. We again are supporting the inclusion of children who require the support across diverse communities, and then making sure that we're building the early learning and childcare workforce simultaneously so that as those spaces are created, there is a sufficient workforce to operate them. Next slide, please. As part of that directed growth, the County of Simcoe was allocated 4,995 spaces to grow in childcare between 2022 and 2026. Right now, what you see on your screen is the total growth that we've got currently planned and or approved for now until the end of 2025. So we were expected at the beginning to set up high priority areas. So there were various demographic aspects that the Ministry of Education asked us to pull data for, which is what determined which areas were high priority. So the first 8 municipalities on that list are deemed high priority across the County of Simcoe, but that does not mean that we're not approving growth or creating new spaces across other municipalities as well. So you can see Ramara has a total, by the end, we'll have an additional 56 childcare spaces, and that will be a combination of home childcare spaces and center-based spaces. Next slide, please. So Andrew mentioned our dashboard earlier. We also have a children's services dashboard that you can access. That dashboard was created in late 2024 and really gives you an overall picture of the number of licensed childcare spaces that we have across the county and in what municipality. It also speaks to the vacancies that are in existence in those locations at any given time. Now, our dashboard is not updated as frequently as the one that Andrew was referencing, but each month the childcare spaces are updated as those programs report to the county. So once they've reported it, it gets updated on the dashboard. There is certainly a high demand for childcare spaces, and as the cost of childcare is coming down, that demand is increasing significantly. So that is a big focus of one of our work, is to make sure that we can meet that demand. In addition to that, you'll see our directed growth applications. And so the chart I showed on the previous tab, you can see the full county's information. And once 2026 has been finalized, which will be shortly, that will also be listed there for your review. And then we also include early development instrument data that we receive, as well as our early on child and family center participation rates across the county. So that's sort of in a very quick snapshot, some of the main things that we do across our early learning and childcare system. And I'm happy to answer any questions that we may have.
I'll start with the Deputy Mayor. Go ahead, Keith.
Great. Thank you for the presentation. One of the questions I had really quickly is Ramara went from 20 to 5 to 31. Is there just an error in that, or why would they drop down so low in 2024?
So just for clarity, those are the number of spaces that are being approved each year to be created. So
that's new.
They're new,
Okay.
yes. So these aren't the existing spaces. These are the new spaces that are going to be added to the existing childcare sector. So each year, those are the number of spaces that we've approved to be opened.
Gotcha. And one of the, can I just,
Yes.
sorry, follow up. One of the concerns I've heard from other parents is because the YMCA is on a decline and they really closed down the after school and before school programs, a lot of people have been missing that in some of the schools. Is that something that will be addressed through this program as well?
Yes, that's something that we're working on. So one of the aspects that we are sort of limited within is we can only focus on operators who come to us who wish to create. We can't create spaces if there is no operator who wants to open a program in a particular area. So that is one of the limitations that we work within. But we have, over the last few years, focused on areas like that where we know that either a program is closing or demand is increasing. And we'll go out and say to operators that we're aware of, is this an area that you would be interested in coming, so that we can advocate to increase the spaces or make sure that they're reopened, even if through a different operator.
That's great. I just think in a rural area, I think it's actually more important here. There's less services in an area like this than there would be in the city of Aurelia, city of Barrie, et cetera. So that's great to hear.
Absolutely.
Hey, Councillor Fisher.
Thank you. I'm just on the portal right now and looking, there's zero capacity, which you know that. And it says that there's 2 sites that are operating in Ramara, but they're actually both in Rama, which is fine. Absolutely. That's completely fine. So I just wanted to kind of highlight that if you are looking at operators to come for Ramara and Ramara families, out of the 91 seats that all 91 seats are in Rama.
Thank you.
Rama.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention. We have had some challenges in the last little while. So the system or the sub database that the information is pulling from has, for some reason, made some shifts over the last little while. So we do have like the hard data separately that we don't go based just on the dashboard when we're working on things.
Oh, yes.
But we have noticed in the last little while there have been a couple of things that have changed for some reason, and so thank you for bringing that to my attention.
Oh, and
We'll
like
take a look at
geographically,
that.
like it all fits, but I was just highlighting that both at the Minjikan school age program and the early years are both in Rama in that community. So just kind of maybe putting a shout out to the people out there. If you're running a daycare, maybe you might want to get those numbers into the county.
Yeah, and the other thing that you won't see as readily available on there is home childcare. So in rural areas, home childcare is sort of our bigger domain as opposed to center-based care. The challenge is we can't post where a home childcare provider lives because it's, their home that they're offering the service out of. So Ramara does have a high volume of home childcare available, but it won't show on that dashboard because that's center-based specifically.
Any other questions from council members? I'm not seeing any, so thank you, and thank you for coming out. A little different. I'm usually sitting out there with you guys when we're presenting to the local council, so thank you for coming here today and informing us on what you've been up to.
Thank you, Worship and Council.
I've got a quick couple of motions here. We'll get done and we'll take a break when we go into committee of the whole, if that's okay with everyone. So first, do I have any open forum today? I did not have any, so I have the minutes. Rebecca?
That the minutes of the following meetings be adopted, having been printed and distributed. Council meeting minutes dated September 22nd, 2025. Council meeting closed session minutes dated September 22nd, 2025.
Okay, mover and a seconder, moved by Councillor Goff, second by Councillor Fisher. Questions arising from the minutes? Not seeing any, so all in favor? That is carried. And lastly, I guess we'll recess in the committee of the whole, then take a break. So Rebecca?
That council recess and convene as committee of the whole at 10:52 a.m.
Moved by the deputy mayor, second by Councillor Tuyu. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. When do you want to come back at? I need a motion to recess until what time you thinking, everybody? 11, 10:10? All right. Oh, 11:10, 11:10, yes.
Through the chair, I'll just need a mover and a seconder. It's a
Just a
verbal
mover and a
motion.
seconder to recess. Councillor Goff, Councillor Snutch, all in favor? That is carried. If we can be back at 10 after 11. Thank you. So I think if are we back live? Then I will look to my clerk that I still have a quorum.
Yes, I can confirm we have a quorum.
Yes, perfect. And so then the first thing I'll look is that we enter into closed session. So Rebecca?
That pursuant to Section 239(4) of the Municipal Act 2001, SO 2001 C25, notice is hereby given that the Committee of the Whole intends to hold a closed session meeting in the Richard P. Bates Boardroom to deal with matters pursuant to Section 239(2)I of the said Act, third-party financial information.
Thank you. Can I have a mover? The Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Tuyu. All in favor? That is carried. So we will reconvene here in a few minutes in camera. Okay, are we back? And you confirm it, and we'll have our motion to rise?
That committee of the whole rise from closed session at 11:19 a.m. and reconvene in open session and report.
Okay, moved by Counselor Goff, second by Counselor Tuyu. All in favor? That is carried. And now on the, again, finances aside, any other discussion on the building permit software? No, everything's good. So you have a motion for me, Rebecca?
Through the chair. So with this motion, we have just put in a preamble because there is a new budget framework this year, which we'll get into in the next report, but that is part of the motion. So I'll read that. Whereas the Township of Ramara is under a new budget framework for the 2026 budget process. Following part BI.1, special powers and duties of the head of council of the Municipal Act 2001, where council will have the opportunity to introduce proposed amendments to the 2026 budget. And whereas the Township of Ramara is desirous to purchase new building permitting software using funding allocated from the 2026 budget with the requirement to enter into a contract with the vendor in fall of 2025 to begin implementation, which includes the allocation of appropriate funding. Now, therefore, be it resolved that report BP 3925, including both open session and closed session versions regarding purchase of building permitting software, be received, and that council supports the purchase and implementation of the PST citywide building permit module software in the fall of 2025, as set out in report BP 3925 at an estimated cost of $33,900 plus HST. And that report BP 3925 be referred to the October 6, 2025 council agenda for same day ratification.
Okay, moved by Counselor Goff, second by Counselor Fisher. All in favor of that motion? That is carried. Thank you. Unanimously, yes. So now I'm looking to where I am. We've jumped around on my agenda a bit. So our committee of the whole motions arising from closed session, which we just did, correct? So council reports, we have none. Board and committee reports, none. Council referral reports, none. So departmental reports is the first one, and that's the software one. Do you need the motion again, or are we good?
Through the chair, no. So that was already dealt with at the
All right,
previous.
perfect. So, okay, the overview, which is 11.52 now, the, oh, hang on. Yeah, 11.52 is the overview of the budget process, because it is a different process this year as mandated. So no decision to be made on this today. This is just information provided as we proceed into the budget on the 23rd. Gail, is there anything you want to add to this process right now?
Through you, Your Worship, I believe that the treasurer and the acting clerk may want to just at a very high level speak to this report.
Perfect. Whenever you're ready. Thanks, Mano.
So this report was to highlight the new changes going with the strong mayor's budget. So there was a CIP that was provided in July with like a tentative schedule of how things could happen this year. And this report is just to give a little bit of background of the changes in legislation and what the new process can be. So there is some changes we can do with the timelines, and this report explains what the regular timelines are and what could be potential schedules changes. And so if there's any question, Rebecca and I can answer.
Yeah. One of the unfortunate things, this was supposed to streamline the process, but it's actually added 55 days to the budget process because we would present the budget, council would have up to 30 days to amend it. Mayor has up to 10 days, and you got to wait till the deadline's gone to veto. And then if I did, now there'd be another 15 days added to the budget. So what we're hoping, and again, it'll be after you see the budget, if you're happy with it, if at that time we could just shorten the window and say, okay, we'll ratify the budget on November 21st, which is the following council meeting, which is our standard process. And then I could shorten the veto time and we could actually get the budget approved. And of course, if there's nothing vetoed, then the budget would be approved at that time. So again, wouldn't ask you to make that decision today. I don't think you want to see the budget first and know that you're comfortable with it, but there is an option that council can say, because our standard process is we have the budget, And then 2 weeks later, it goes to council and it's approved. Well, this could take up to 55 days. So that is an option the council could look at. And I believe the budget day would be the day to do that. Gail, I'm just looking for you for a bit of direction on that.
Through you, your worship, certainly you make a very valid point insofar that I would expect that council would want to actually see the budget before you make that determination in terms of vetoing. So you would ultimately, we are meeting on October the 23rd to present the budget to council. And so at that point in time, if you wish to reduce the timelines, that would be a good opportunity for you to do it at that time.
Councillor Goff.
I know we're talking about seeing the budget. Are we going to actually have an opportunity to see it before the meeting?
Yes, I'm just what
And
time?
a paper copy for us old school people?
A paper copy, I think, would be preferred by all council members. No?
Yes, so the budget needs to be, with the new legislation, the budget needs to be sent by the mayor, or if I have written direction from the mayor, I could send it on behalf of the mayor. So that would be the electronic copy. We'll also have the paper copy. My goal is to have it ready by October 16 to give you a full week to review before the October 23rd meeting.
And I will certainly authorize that to get it out as soon as possible. Any other, Councillor Bell, did you have your hand up? I thought I said, yes, go ahead.
Sorry, thank you. Yes. I guess my question is less about council, but it does fit in, but because it'll be us that receives feedback from the public. So we're not going to see this we'll see it October 16, public October 23, but then we want to carry it we want to carry it at the next regular council meeting, we're saying?
Well, that would be no, we're not. I'm saying see the budget first, have a look at it. And if council is confident with the budget, then the windows could be shortened to that timeline. Yes.
Okay. And I guess I'm just, because I don't understand when the public has an opportunity to interact with council and or the administration to bring its feedback, because it feels like this is a pretty short timeline. If we were to shorten it up, then I don't know how the public, I don't know how there's enough time for us to gather feedback.
Okay, well, again, it's up to the public to make sure that they see the budget when it's posted and then reach out to their local councillors or provide a deputation that day. Actually, November the 21st would also be as well. I got a series. I'll start with Melissa.
Through you, Mr. Chair, just so council's aware that when the budget document does become public and is posted on our website, I will be issuing a news release on behalf of the township to alert residents.
All righty. Councillor Snutch, I saw a hand up.
No, I was just wondering if we could get the budget out prior to the Friday that it usually goes, as Councillor Bell is suggesting. I mean, when you send it to us, can you not also make it public? Or is that what you're sort of saying? It's going to go on the website a week before the meeting?
Melissa, I'll look for.
If I could just look at our acting clerk in terms of, and maybe our treasurer in terms of the timing for that.
Traditionally, council gets the first opportunity to see anything. So it would be posted when our agenda is normally posted, which would be what, about 4 days prior to the meeting, if I'm correct?
Through the chair, the special meeting would be scheduled for Thursday, October 23rd. So we would look at that timeline to have the agenda published prior to the meeting.
Right.
And that would include the draft, the entire proposed budget.
Right, but they wouldn't, the public would not, it wouldn't be posted. Council gets the first opportunity to see it, as is your right as councillors. Then it'll be publicized when the agenda is publicized. So that gives you time to look at it before you start actually getting questions on it. Any other questions? I thought I saw more hands. Is that it? No, that's all we had. Okay, so what's my motion then for the, oh, yes, Councillor Fisher.
So I'm still hung up on the amount of time that between us receiving it. When I say receiving it, I don't mean like physically looking at it. I mean receiving it at council and making the decision the same day to shorten that window. That's the concern, because then our next meeting, if we shorten that window, it will be at the very next meeting is when we're going to pass the budget. So that's my concern. Is there opportunity that should we not receive and then at that point to change the timing at that point?
No, not, it's a different process. You're not actually moving it to pass the budget. The budget you're moving, if you want to make any changes to the budget, then you would make them on the 10th. Go ahead, Rebecca. There is
Yes,
no
so-
motion to receive the budget. It's presented. You bring motions in if you want to change it. And we're saying have them all by November, was it 21st? I think we had.
Through the chair, so this is the biggest change with this new process from a council procedure point, which is that in previous budget years, council would have received the budget and then voted to adopt the budget. With the new process, there is no formal vote to adopt the budget. It's considered adopted at the end point of the whole review veto override period, or if it ends earlier, if there is no vetoes or no overrides. So what that means is the budget would be presented to council on October 23rd. You would then go through the budget, and if you have proposed amendments, you would put those amendments forward. There would be a vote on each of the proposed amendments. And then if passed, the proposed amendment would form part of the budget. There is currently in the legislation that review period is required to be 30 days. Council can by resolution pass a motion to shorten that review period timeframe. We are suggesting that be shortened to November 10th because we have a council meeting scheduled on November 10th. But the alternative would, if they wanted to keep the full 30 days, it would go until November 22nd. So we would likely need to, we would have a council meeting on what the next date is.
Well, no, yeah, you'd have to call a special council meeting if somebody had
Yes.
amendments.
So there would be a requirement for more meetings because our next regular council meeting is not until November 24th. So we would need to have a special meeting the week prior to that if we do the full 30 days timeframe. Once the timeframe has elapsed, then the mayor would have 10 days to veto any of the past amendments that were voted upon by council. If he did veto any of those amendments at the end of that 10-day period, then council would have a 15-day period to override any of those amendments, which would require a vote of 2/3 majority. So would require another meeting. So we propose a timeline that would align with our currently scheduled meetings, which would see the override period ending November 24th. However, if that timeline is flexible for council's consideration.
Yeah. And I would propose, again, if you shorten the timeline, then I would shorten the veto line and we could get the budget out sooner, but that'll be a decision for council to make when you see the budget. Councillor Fisher.
Okay, so do we
Supplementary.
have to decide all those shortened windows all at the same time? Or if we don't shorten the review period, can after that shorten the veto and override period? Or does it all have to be decided at the very beginning?
Through the chair, no, so the veto period actually doesn't have a motion from council. It just requires written direction from the mayor if you wish to shorten that timeline. The override period could be shortened by a resolution of council at any point throughout the process. So if you came on November 10th and wanted to shorten that timeline, then you could do so.
Yeah, the veto would be my choice, so I can shorten that window if I choose, but it's council that has to choose if you want to shorten your window timelines. Councillor Schnotch.
To Mano. Mano, is there a draft budget right now?
There's the mayor's draft budget. Yes, it's not.
So why can't we see a copy of that like today or tomorrow? Have it sent to us so we can start going through it?
Because the budget book, like the entire document, we're still working on it.
Well, I'd just like to know how much you've already worked on with the mayor. Maybe, to talk about time changes and timelines. I just like to know where we're at right now so I can tell if there are some issues that.
Gail, go ahead, because I did have changes to the budget when it was presented, and that's what they've got to finish changing. And then as soon as it's ready, it'll be given to council. And again, I'm not asking anybody to shorten any timelines till after you see the budget and have your budget day.
So through you, your worship, yes, it is interesting just because the process is quite a bit different than what council has been accustomed to. So the administration has presented a draft budget to the mayor. And the mayor has provided direction to make some changes to that budget. And so that is exactly what is going on right now. So we will endeavor to get it out as soon as possible. It will probably be out to Mano's point no later than the 16th, but if we're able to shorten that time frame, then we certainly will do so to get it in council's hands well in advance of the 23rd.
Okay, so what is the problem with us seeing the original draft budget that was proposed and seeing the mayor's comments so we can get ready for this?
There is no original draft budget because under the legislation, it is my budget that I present. So this is.
Why
the
can't we
budget.
see it?
Because I'm presenting the budget. I haven't presented it yet. Yes.
It is through you, your worship, it is the mayor's budget. This is how the provincial legislation is now set up. It is the mayor's budget, and the mayor will present his budget to council on the 23rd. Understanding that there is that need to review it, we will commit to getting it out as soon as possible. But it is the mayor's budget, and he will give the direction once we've completed the documentation. But it does take time to prepare that information so that it is complete information for council consideration.
I guess what's different this time, normally you wouldn't see the working early budget. It would be the CAO that sits down with the department managers and goes through each to form the budget. Well, what's different this time is I'm also part of that, sitting down with the department head. So no, you haven't seen what each individual has brought forward, only what as a collective we've agreed upon, and that's what's coming to council. The only difference is I'm now involved in the process as opposed to just the CAO and the treasurer.
But I'm sure a lot of the other councillors, including myself, sent you an email on things that we'd like to see excluded or included in the budget. I just don't understand why I can't see what you've already decided at this point to include and what not to include, so I can start working on those things or be satisfied with those things.
Well,
I just don't get it.
It'll be the 16th. It's no different than when we send information to the department heads normally that we'd want on a budget. When the budget's presented is when you see it.
That's fine.
Councillor Fisher, go ahead.
Thank you. I think I want to propose an amendment to this recommendation because I heard our treasurer say that she cannot send out a copy of the draft budget, that it either has to be sent from you electronically unless there's written permission. So I'd like to include that and that the mayor delegates that authority to our treasurer to get us a copy.
I don't think it'd be done by motion of council, but I've already assured you that I will delegate that authority. So as soon as
Oh,
it's
so we
ready.
can't even do
Yeah.
that?
Through you, your worship, that isn't required. The mayor can ensure that that is done. That is his
Oh,
obligation
yeah.
to do so in order to present his budget.
Okay.
And if it's ready a day or so earlier, we'll get it out a day or so earlier. It's as soon as we're ready. Councillor Bell.
Sorry, thank you. I guess part of my concern is that typically the department heads came before council and presented what they were putting into the budget and rationalized why they were making those decisions, what they prioritized, that sort of thing. So I think part of the disconnect is that council is not receiving those presentations, but that ultimately means that the public is not receiving those presentations. So the way that we're sitting right now, all that's going to happen is on October 23rd, this presentation is going to come to council. But again, we haven't, and obviously we can't turn back time, but we have not engaged with the public at all on the 26th budget. And so what we're asking here is for all of our residents, as well as council, to be prepared to make decisions that they haven't had any kind of background information on to understand where it's coming from. So this is obviously a very different process. I know I'm not going to be able to change that, and I know I can advocate all day long to bring the department heads in, and that's not likely going to happen. But I guess what I'm wondering is, what kind of presentation will the public be receiving? How are they going to rationalize or understand what's in the budget?
Okay, you're actually incorrect. The department heads will be presenting their budgets. Go ahead, Gail, same as they do every year.
Yes.
The
Your
only
worship.
difference is I've been involved with the department heads in creating the budget. That's the only thing that's changed. Normally, it's just the CEO and the treasurer that sits down with each department head and goes through and shortlists everything. I've been involved in that process now. That's the only difference. Now, on the good news for you guys, if it's a horrible budget with a high tax rate, you can always blame the mayor because it's now the mayor's budget. Gail, anything I missed on that?
No, your worship, you've captured everything. Just for council to be comfortable, absolutely. The directors and the general managers will be present and will provide information on their respective areas. So that will continue as it has continued in the past.
No, same as it always has. Councillor Bell.
Thank you. So just so that I'm clear then, October 23rd, we can anticipate it would be a full day of presentation from each of the department heads. is there a planned communication that's going to be going out that explains what this new process looks like, and that there will be presentations from the department heads? Because in my experience up to now, as confused as council might be about how this new budget process works, the general public is extremely confused. And I'm wondering if sooner than later, some communication can go out that helps people understand how the process works in a hopefully more simple way. I know that's hard to do because I can see it's confusing even when it's written the way it is in this staff report. But I think it would be helpful if communication went out earlier so that people can anticipate being available on October 23rd to watch those presentations, for one thing, since this will be their first opportunity to interact with the budget. And also, it gives them a chance to maybe get involved earlier and send information to their council members.
Okay, I'll let Melissa answer the first part of that. Go ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, we will endeavor to get communications out early as we can. However, I would caution that we do want to have the information about the budget available in terms of the budget package. So we'll work with staff to ensure that it's a full messaging that's going out.
The only thing that's really changed, well, other than I've been involved with the department heads, is the timelines. Normally, we would pass our budget, we would do our budget October 23rd, and we would ratify it November 10th. That's our normal timeline. Finished, over and done November 10th. But under the new legislation now, it could take up until December 16th before we had the budget, or could go to tenders. So that's why I think you want to see the budget first and decide if you're happy with it, to shorten those timelines so we can get the tenders sooner. But again, that will be a choice of council on that day, once you've had time to go through the budget and have a look at it. Any other question, Deputy Mayor?
Just a comment. I think if anybody's confused about the budget, I think it's important they reach out to staff first. I mean, your staff are our frontline people who can answer the questions they have. Next, email your council member, have those forwarded to the mayor. It is the mayor's budget this year, so it's important that he gets that information. So if people are confused, they don't know where to go, they need clarification, talk to staff, talk to the mayor, talk to your council members, and get that information into us, because I haven't seen anything yet.
Okay, Councillor Fisher, and then we can move on.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say that I think it's really hard to make what if scenarios when we don't know what it looks like, right?
Correct.
Like we don't know what it looks like. So I have all these things, but it might not even make sense, the questions I have.
Yeah, well, this was only meant as an information package to explain the process and options that council can be looking at on budget day. Councillor Goff.
Well, I think we need to clarify and follow up on what Keith, Deputy Mayor, was saying, is that there's still opportunity for the public to see the budget and a time frame where they can reach out to us after the budget and seeing it, and we can maybe make amendments or shorten the time frame. As you said, it's your budget, but you've been involved with the process.
Even if we went with the shortest time frame that's put here, it's an extra 2 weeks longer than what our normal time frame would have been. So this process does allow for more public input than what was traditionally is what we did. So this is just a motion to receive, no decision made. Rebecca?
Through the chair, so I will need a mover and a seconder. The motion we have before us is that report 80-2425 dated September 26, 2025 regarding overview of Township of Ramara 2026 budget process be received as information.
Perfect. Moved by Councillor Goff, second by the Deputy Mayor. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. We have a tender. Award tender. Rebecca.
That report ID 3125 regarding the award of tender for slurry seal surface treatment dated October 3rd, 2025 be received, and that Duncor Enterprises Inc. be awarded the contract for infrastructure tender ID 03-2025 for the slurry seal surface treatment in the amount of $187,255.20 plus HST, and that the mayor and clerk be authorized to enter into the agreement to execute this tender. And that report ID 3125 be referred to the October 6, 2025 council agenda for same day ratification.
Okay, moved by Councillor Tuyu, second by Councillor Fisher on the tenders. Questions or comments? Councillor Bell.
Thank you. It's just really a comment or a request for the future. Whenever there's a report being referenced, a previous report on a current report, it's helpful if the link to that previous report is included so that not just for council's sake, but also for any residents who are reading the agenda. Sometimes residents don't know exactly how to access Civic Web and find documents. And if that August 25th staff report is there, then they can just reference it. So it does make it quicker for council as well too, when the reports are put together versus us having to go back and search for the previous.
So on the actual motion then, and this will be ratified again later today, so will the purchase of the software. So on the motion, all in favor? Opposed, if any, that is carried. Thank you. Next, I have the tender for the hot mix asphalt.
That report ID 3225 regarding award of tender for hot mix asphalt surface treatment dated October 3rd, 2025 be received. And that Georgian Paving, a division of Miller Paving Inc., be awarded the contract for infrastructure tender ID 08-2025 for the hot mix asphalt surface treatment in the amount of $537,769.11 plus HST. And that the mayor and clerk be authorized to enter into the agreement to execute this tender. And that report ID 3225 be referred to the October 6, 2025 council agenda for same day ratification.
Moved by Councillor Goff, second by Councillor Fisher. Questions on the tender? And again, same day ratification as well, so we can get those tenders out. All in favor? Opposed, of any? That is carried. Thank you. And I think that's all we had in our committee of the whole meeting today. Just waiting for the motion, and we'll rise and reconvene.
Through the chair, the motion is that the recommendations of committee of the whole be referred to the next regular meeting of council to be held on October 6, 2025, with the exception of the following items, which shall be referred to the consent agenda later today. 11.5.1, purchase of building permitting software. 11.5.3, award of tender slurry seal surface treatment. 11.5.4, award of tender hot mix asphalt surface treatment. And that committee of the whole rise, the council be reconvened at 11:46 a.m.
Okay, moved by Councillor Goff, second by Councillor Tuyu. All in favor to rise? That is carried. So now we're on our consent agenda reports. So we have the consent agenda reports from our previous September 22nd Committee of the Whole. So this is Committee of the Whole reports that weren't ratified that day. And so 12.1 are just those items for reference. So they're in your agenda. These are the items that we'll be voting on. And 12.14, or I guess no, now I'll be looking for the motion. There's quite a few of them here. And I didn't have a request for any of them to be pulled. Were they to be pulled and voted on separately at the last committee of the whole?
Through the chair, I believe Councillor Bell has her hand up.
Oh, Councillor Bell, go ahead.
I think the shore wall, the 12.1.4, I had wanted to have a separate vote.
So we will pull that one then for a separate vote. So just a minute while I highlight it so that I have it. Thank you. Any of the others? So then you're fine with the bylaw for the K9? Yeah, we're all fine. Okay, if I could have the motion then for the remit. Oh, use your mic, Dave, please.
The last time we had the discussion on this, I was trying to get a standard sign. I'd just like to add an amendment to this, that staff come back to us within a period of 3 to 6 months with a standard sign that is recognized by the people. I don't care if it's got Township of Ramara on it or whatever. They can go through all the issues that maybe come from a common sign, but I do believe we need a common sign that is recognizable. So I would like to make a motion to that be done.
So what I'll do then is I will pull that one as well for a separate motion. So we're going to pull the shore wall one, and we will pull the, I'm just looking for it here, the K9 bylaw, and then we can enter amendments on either one then. I'm just looking for it to highlight it here. So I have it. Oh yeah, there it is there. Okay, perfect. So those two have been pulled. On the rest of the committee of the whole then, I don't remember much So now I'll have the motion, Rebecca, minus those two.
Through the chair, just give me 1 second just to finish putting it together. Chair, thank you for your patience. So the motion before council is that recommendations as set out on consent agenda A, reports from the September 22nd, 2025 Committee of the Whole meeting be adopted as presented, including 12.1.1 2024 Annual Building Department Report, 12.1.2 Flag Use Policy, 12.1.5 2025 Mid-Year Financial Review, 12.1.6 Safe and Active School Routes, FCM funding, and with the exception of the following reports, which shall be discussed and voted upon separately. 12.1.3 Canine Control Bylaw, 12.1.4 Shore Wall / Retaining Walls Building Code.
Okay, so those two will be a separate vote. So on the remainder, mover and a seconder. Did I have one? I don't. So I moved by Councillor Goff, second by Councillor Tuyu. All in favor? That is carried. So now can we just do them in order? Then Rebecca will deal with the 12.13 next, which is the canine bylaw. So we'll deal with the canine bylaw now. Councillor Snutch, you had.
I've said everything I have to say. If you want me to say it again, I can say it. I'm requesting that the staff come back with a report within 3 to 6 months. So let's say 6 months, we can have both, to standardize the sign that's required in the event of a dangerous dog.
Okay, so what I'll do first, I'll have a motion, I'll put it on the floor. And then we'll look at an amendment. Gail?
Through you, Your Worship, just as we give Rebecca a little bit of time to prepare that.
Yes.
Just for confirmation on the amendment, are we looking for an actual report, or are you looking for a CIP that simply indicates that we have standardized the sign and here's how it looks? Or were you looking to participate in what that sign would actually look like?
Personally, I don't want to participate. I'm more interested that it's a standard sign that's recognizable by the residents.
I was going to second.
So we do have a mover and a seconder for that amendment when we're ready.
Just to confirm though, are you satisfied with the CIP? So it would be simply staff providing you with information. We would commit to do that as soon as we possibly can.
Joe?
No, I believe that Councillor Snutch wants a standard sign as part of the canine bylaw. So that way it'd be cost recovery.
Through you, Worship, that's understood, that we would standardize the sign. I'm simply asking, are you looking for a report on that, or are you okay with a simple memo from staff saying, here's the standardized sign?
I'm fine with that.
Okay, and I think I saw Councillor Bell's hand up. Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you. I didn't pull it because I knew Councillor Snutch would, but I did have just some comments that I wanted to make. I had raised a number of questions that were brought to me by residents or concerns. So one of them had been that the dog tag itself stretches and doesn't stay attached to the dog's collar. And then the other had been about the declaration of dangerous and how that works as far as a veterinarian, a local veterinarian, she doesn't practice here but lives here, had requested that the township look more into the process around classifying the dog as dangerous. And I understand based on the last conversation that the idea here is get a bylaw in place and then we can start to revisit all of those parts and pieces. And I guess what I'm looking for is just some way of clarifying that the discussion is remaining open, and those other items that I brought, including the potential for the highest possible fines that we can allocate for cruelty, which is, I think, for me anyway, that's an extremely important piece of this, cruelty toward the animal. So I'm just wondering, how will I know that this process is still open and interactive and those other questions are being answered?
I guess the one I can answer, but then I'll have to get you to clarify the first point again, because you faded out for a second there. I think as far as the vet, there's an appeal process in place so that folks could bring a vet certificate or something from their vet if they felt they've been unfairly treated to the appeals that's already an option. But what was the first one you said? Sorry, you faded out there.
Sorry, I had some residents come and say that the tags themselves, once they go on and off the dog a few times, they stretch out and then they just break or they fall off or whatever. And so they were curious whether there's different tags or better tags or whatever that could be that the township could look into.
Tony, do you have an answer on that one?
Yes and no, through you, your worship. The tags itself, the owner has the ability to affix that tag however they want to the animal. The tag itself is aluminum and should be resistant enough. It's the actual circular coupling that could be replaced with something more heavy duty to hold it on. So I would think that it's just the way it's affixed that would maintain it, but it is captured under the bylaw that it must be present. So the onus would fall back on the owner to ensure that that is affixed properly and stays on, if that at all answers your question.
Okay, Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, there's just one thing you have to be careful of in doing that. The reason they have breakaway collars and those things do undo is if they get snagged in the bush, it'll catch them and then they can't get away. So do that, but make sure the dog can still free themselves if they're in trouble.
So we have it registered, even if we catch a dog that doesn't, once the owner identifies it, we do know that at least they paid for the tag, whether it's not showing. We are aware of, it's registered in our system that they did have a tag and for whatever reason was lost, correct?
That is correct. The municipality, as per the bylaw, will keep record of those tags and ensure, that we verify that when the dog is brought in.
Okay. So what I'll do at this point is I'll put the original motion on the floor and then the amendment. So if I could have the original motion first, Rebecca, I'll get a mover and a seconder, then we'll work on the amendment, I think.
Through the chair, that report CD 2125 dated August 18th, 2025 regarding canine control bylaw be received, and that bylaw 2005.76 as amended canine control bylaw be repealed and replaced with the version attached to Schedule A to this report to come into effect upon approval of short form wording and set fines, and that staff be authorized to seek approval for short form wording and set fines in accordance with the Provincial Offences Act as outlined in Schedule C of the draft bylaw, and that staff review opportunities to establish an administrative monetary penalty shape AMPs for the canine control bylaw and report back to council as time permits, and that section 4.5 of Schedule A, the draft canine control bylaw, be amended as follows: where a dog is declared a dangerous dog and an order to restrain is served on the owner of the dog, the following requirements individually or in conjunction shall be imposed on the owner. A, when the dog is on the property of the owner, the dog shall be restrained to the side or rear yard with a securely placed leash or a fully enclosed pen of sufficient design and strength to contain the dog. B, when the dog is off the property of the owner, the dog shall be restrained by means of a securely attached muzzle, a leash with a maximum length of 1 meter, 3.28 feet of sufficient strength and under the effective control of a person 16 years of age or older. C, the owner of the dog shall display a warning sign at the main entrance of the property that is clearly visible, warning of a dog on the premises. The sign shall be no smaller than 8 inches by 12 inches. D, provide the township with the copy of current rabies vaccination records.
Okay, so mover and a seconder, moved by Councillor Goff, second by Councillor Fisher. So that is on the floor. Now I'll look for my amendment. How did you make out with that, Rebecca?
Through your worship, if I can just perhaps through you over to Chief Stong, the standard sizing is 8 inches by 12 inches, correct? For that dangerous.
I believe the dimensions referenced in the bylaw are the minimum requirement for that standard size. So I would assume that council would like us to make a sign that is reflective of those dimensions.
8 by 12 is what it says.
Yeah, 8 by 12.
So your worship, the amendment is just the standardization of the wording, not the sizing, correct?
The standardization of the wording is what.
No, it should be both.
Well, just so we're clear, your worship, the bylaw stipulates what size the sign should be. So that's already set out in your bylaw.
Right.
So that is the standardization of the sizing,
Yeah.
yes. So it's just the wording, correct? Okay, so we.
Okay, and that's moved by Councillor Snutch, second by Councillor Goff, but we'll get it drafted up here. And maybe on the screen so everybody can see it. And I'll watch for you. You'll be a little smaller, Sherry, but when it comes on the screen, I'll watch to see if you have any comments on the amendment.
Through the chair, the amendment we have drafted is as follows: that the motion before council be amended to include the following, and that staff be directed to prepare a council information package memo advising council of standardized language and colors for signage related to the canine control bylaw.
Okay, that's fine. Any questions just on the amendment? This one amendment? Not seeing any, so all in favor? That is carried. So on the main motion, are there any further amendments? If not seeing any, so on the main motion, all in favor? That is carried. Thank you. So now I'm on to the shore wall, which is 12.14.
That report BP 3425 dated August 8, 2025 regarding shore wall / retaining wall building code be received, and that council support the interpretation of shore walls as retaining walls regulated under the Ontario Building Code when meeting the criteria set out in Division A, Section 1.3.3.5, and that bylaw number 2017.25 be amended as set out in Schedule A to this report.
Okay, can I have a mover to put it on the floor? Councillor Goff, second by Councillor Fisher. Questions, comments, or amendments? Councillor Snutch.
Mr. Mayor, I believe that you made a comment earlier when this was up about the concrete slab and fascia. Can you please repeat what you said about whether that applies?
No, well, it would not. They'd be built in accordance with the building code.
Thank you.
So any other questions? Councillor Bell.
Thank you. I still have the same outstanding concerns that I've had the last two meetings as far as engagement and intent and the ability of Lagoon City's residents to protect their properties. I'm not going to revisit those. However, I do have an amendment that I'd like to place on the floor, so I will do that unless there's any other discussion.
I guess the only thing before I get to the amendment would be like it's saying the council support, even if we didn't, it's not within our authority, correct? Now, I don't know the chief building official here today, but we're saying we will support it within the bylaw. But as of today, right now, the walls are being built as per the building code, correct?
Through your worship, you're correct.
Yes, it's so whether or not we support the amendment or not, they are built within the building code, which does not require concrete or concrete cap or fascia. That is how they're being built as of today. What we're doing is amending the bylaw to match what's actually happening. So, okay. So now I've clarified. Go ahead with your amendment, Councillor Bell.
Yes, I guess I would just say that, I mean, we're using language like being built today, but actually there haven't been any shore walls constructed in quite some time. And I guess the only way that I've even learned an application was presented and returned was through the simco.com media, where evidently there was an attempt by an individual to obtain a permit, and that has set off some other kind of legal process or whatever is being alluded to in that article, which I don't have any knowledge of from the council perspective. And I'm still concerned that we're making decisions, or at least I'm being asked to make decisions with very, very limited information and with removal of the Parks and Waterways Commission, whose duty is to represent the people's of Lagoon City's investment. However, that being said, the amendment is, and that the township prepare a shore wall permitting guide to outline the application process, timelines, and cost, and that the township host a meeting with Lagoon City residents to present the shore wall permitting process.
Do you have a seconder for that motion? I'm not seeing one. So on the original motion, anybody need any other clarification? I think the way it is actually you come in and apply for a building permit, same as any other building permit, correct? That is the process now. You apply for a building permit. I'm getting the nod from the general manager. So with that, motion on the floor, all in favor?
Sorry, can I please have a recorded vote then?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Recorded vote requested by Councillor Bell.
Through the chair, a recorded vote has been requested for the motion regarding report BP 3425, shore wall retaining wall building code. We'll start with the requesting member. Councillor Bell.
Thank you. Sorry, for just a point of clarification, the amendment though will be published in the agenda, correct?
No, there was no seconder.
Okay, thank you.
There is no amendment. Yeah.
Okay, no, thank you. I oppose.
Deputy Mayor Bell.
Agree.
Counselor Fisher,
In favor?
Counselor Goff,
In favor.
Counselor Snatch,
In favor.
Counselor Tuyu,
In favor.
Mayor Clark.
In favor.
The motion has carried.
Thank you. I believe that finishes consent A and just B reports. Oh, now we have consent B, which is from today's committee of the whole, and those were the items that were going to be ratified. We will get them up on the screen, but they were in your agenda. I believe the first one is the building permit software. I'm trying to just remember offhand what they were, and the two tenders, correct?
Through the chair, yes, that is correct. We do have a motion prepared. If there's any of these reports that you would like pulled for a separate vote, please let us know. That recommendations as set out on consent agenda B, reports from the current meeting for the regular meeting of council held on October 6, 2025 be adopted as presented, including 11.5.1 purchase of building permitting software, 11.5.3 award of tender slurry seal surface treatment, 11.5.4 award of tender hot mix asphalt surface treatment.
Does anybody require a separate vote on any of those issues? Not seeing any. So then mover and a seconder, moved by Councillor Goff, second by Councillor Fisher. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. So there was none pulled. So item 13.3, that none of them were pulled for a separate vote. So now we're on to the correspondence in our agenda, which is number, well, I guess we don't have any, but we have correspondence for council direction now. And we have 15.1 on the agenda. Guess we didn't have any actual correspondence this meeting. So 15.1.
That the Climate Action Committee Chair correspondence dated September 29th, 2025 regarding requests for council's input on a climate action work plan be received as information, and that council provide input on the development of the Climate Action Committee's climate action work plan.
So what we'll do is this going to be a verb. Will we be adding to that motion? Maybe Gail, I'll look for direction or just a discussion here today. So I'll just open it up to the floor before we go any farther, and then we'll present a motion after.
That would be great, Your Worship, so that we can capture the collective direction from council. So if you would open it up for discussion, and I'm not sure if Councillor Tuyu as the council representative would like to speak to the issue, but once we have a consensus, then we can include that in the motion.
I will start with you, Councillor Tuyu. Thank you.
Thank you. Having connected with Councillor Fisher to discuss her efforts to build the Rooted in Ramara program, I've learned that it takes a lot to start a committee from scratch, just from a bureaucratic standpoint alone. For example, the committee's strategic priorities should complement the township strategic plan, and only then can we start putting together objectives for a work plan. However, unlike the Rooted in Ramara Committee, the Climate Action Committee only meets quarterly, which at that rate could result in it taking a year for us to get past the red tape. I'm asking for council's support that the Climate Action Committee be able to meet monthly for the last quarter of this year until we get our work plan put together in the best possible way so that we aren't delayed in our ability to proactively put together resolutions to seek grant funding opportunities or suggest educational initiatives or start working toward achievable goals.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Goff.
Actually, Councillor Tuyu, I agree with you that you should be having your committee meeting more often, but I want to give you a little bit longer time frame because we're already in October and say January as well. So that way you can meet more often and get a plan going forward in the strategic plan.
Thank you.
Councillor Fisher.
And perhaps even to build on that, have the first few months that way and then perhaps report back to council because there may be more time at that needed at that point. So to come back to council after those first 3 months.
So what we're saying so far is allow them, I don't know if they need our permission, but to meet monthly until such time as they can get their work plan completed. Very difficult to get a committee off the ground when you're only meeting once a quarter, right? Go ahead.
Through you, Your Worship, and certainly understandable from the administration's perspective, but I do think it is important for council to realize that for these committees to meet, it does require a fair amount of staff resources in order to prepare the agendas, attend the meetings, and so on. So I do think it is important to raise the issue, Your Worship, that we do have certainly staffing issues and to meet on a regular basis, especially heading into full budget. budget will cause some challenges to have that committee resourced by administration.
All right. So if we said meet more frequently in coordination with staff, would that would that help? Because I realize we are short-staffed right now and heading into budget. So I'll go to Councillor Bell, then the deputy mayor.
Yeah, thank you through you, Mayor. I guess I'm wondering where is Councillor Tuya, where are you having the difficulty as far as like how can council support you to kind of get to the finish line? Whenever I've headed a committee and led that group, I haven't used any staff resources, and rather I met independently with that committee, and I set up the base of a strategic plan as well as a communications plan, and then led the committee as we worked through what items might fit into that plan. So is it that you need assistance with how to structure your plans, or I'm just not sure where all yours is it just time and that you don't have enough time right now to get something on paper, or is it that you need help structuring how a committee what the committee's plan could be structured, like what it looks like and how it folds out, the timelines and that kind of thing? I'm just not sure what else we could do as a council to help you get that plan in place.
I guess part of this one, and I can bet, and then maybe I'll look to Gail. This is a committee under council, so therefore it does require staff to be part of the process, correct?
Yes, you are correct, Your Worship, and certainly meeting outside of the committee setting would be problematic as per the procedure bylaws. So staff would need to be present.
Dana, anything you wanted to?
I mean, like I said.
Oh, sorry. Well, yeah, go ahead, Dana, and then I'll go back to you, Councillor Bell, if you had a supplementary. Go ahead.
Thanks. Yeah, no, in terms of knowing how to structure it, thankfully, as I mentioned, there's no need to reinvent the wheel. I've got sort of the template from the Rooted in Ramara efforts, but it's just more, we want to make sure that when we actually finally are ready to present ideas or advise, that it's not, well, first of all, that it's even timely, but secondly, that it's not wasted effort, and that we don't want to come up with something that's completely outside of the scope of what is within our strategic plan. So that hence the importance of this work plan.
Okay, supplementary, Councillor Bell, then the deputy mayor, then Councillor Fisher. All right, go ahead.
Thank you. Yes. So for example, the Goose Management, now defunct canceled Goose Management Committee was a committee of council, and the direction from the CAO at that time was for that committee to proceed with meeting and build its plans and then bring them back to a structured formal committee meeting with staff present. But that allowed for the bulk of the work to be done while removing the burden from staff, which I believe is the point of having committees that are comprised of a council lead and residents. Otherwise, we would just have the committee done by the staff in the first place, and there would be no need for the committee. So I think there's just maybe it has been managed differently in the past. So if this is the first new committee, and then this whatever process is determined out of this committee would need to be, I guess, the process moving forward. But I think I'm just saying there's no point in a committee if the staff is going to do the work and then the council is going to do all the input. Then the committee is, the staff could just do the work. Why have the committee? So I'm a little bit confused why we would use a different process now than we used previously, but I don't know if that's just because of our new procedure bylaw.
That's news to me, because I've never heard of a committee under council that didn't have a staff member present, and that should not have taken place if it did. I remember when we even had oh boy, I'm trying to remember the short-term rental bylaw in the committee. There was always a staff present during those meetings as they were establishing our very first short-term rental bylaw. And that was an independent committee, but because it was a committee under council and formed under council, there was absolutely staff present at all meetings and minutes kept. So I will go to, I had the deputy mayor, then Councillor Fisher, then Councillor Snap.
I'll withdraw my question for now until I see how the discussion.
Councillor Fisher.
Thank you. So Dana and I have spoken, and I just want to give a little bit of background because of the experience. And I know that Councillor Bell has had experience with committees within council and outside of council and getting them off the ground. When we first got permission for Rooted in Ramara and support from council back in 2022, it was a year of monthly meetings, just trying to figure it out, because we would get together with staff and say, okay, this is kind of what we want to do. We'd take it back and we'd edit. We'd have to wait another month to get back together. It wasn't until 2023 that we finally had an identity, 2024 to start rolling out our programming, and 2025, it snowballed and is absolutely incredible. I recognize the challenges with staffing at the moment. What Councillor Tuyu is asking for, I think, is just 3 extra meetings in a couple hours, so possibly 6 hours in the next 3 months worth of staff support to start the ball rolling. I have shared some documents with her as a template. A lot of the blanks have been filled in, but to wait for another 3 months after their meeting this month to get the feedback, I'm not sure. Well, as Councillor Tuyu said, I don't know how that committee can then be successful.
Councillor Snudge.
Dana, is there a compromise here considering the workload with staff and the budget? Would you be willing to go to monthly meetings after the budget process is completed?
You mean after November?
Well, I'm really missing.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Once the budget's approved, and staff focus on other attention. I'm just asking if you would be in favor.
Councillor,
I'd be
Councillor
amenable
Snudge, your
to
mic
that.
is not on.
Sorry, Dave was just wondering if they could wait until after the budget process before convening to the monthly meetings to free up some staff time.
Yes, I would be amenable to that. We're in October already as it is. And yeah, thank you.
And those costs should be included in the 2026 budget.
I'm looking at my CAO, Gail.
Through you, your worship, just to be, staff will be undertaking, actually work has already started on evaluating the whole sort of council committee process and what committees fall within council and so on. It was sort of expected from staff to ultimately move forward with a plan to be presented to the next term of council, because changing that up now, I think would be, certainly unfair to the overall committee members and also the work that they're doing. That's just a high level FYI for council that we are working on that. The one thing with committees of council, it is really important that we work hard to get volunteers for these committees, because it's great to have the input from the community members. What I've seen before that works out quite well is where there is a subcommittee or a small working group that is established within a committee that is then assigned to do specific work for that committee and report back. That small working group, as long as there's not the majority of majority of the committee members, can do so without the sort of staffing requirements. They go away, they do their research, they prepare their report, and they present that to the overall committee to ultimately move a particular issue forward. As an example, I'm not sure, because I haven't had the opportunity to talk to Councillor Tuyu as to whether this would be something that would be an idea for the Climate Change Action Committee to see if that would help move their terms of reference or their agenda forward as an option.
Oh, go ahead, Dana, and then I'll go to Councillor Goff.
Thank you. I mean, we've really only got, I think, 7 members on that committee. Sorry?
I was gonna say, I thought you only had like 4 or 5 members on your committee, so having a subcommittee would be kind of.
Yeah, no, I know that's the thing. Like, I'm not sure what that would constitute. It's not like the Atherley board where there's 12 of us.
Yeah, I had the same question. How many are actually on the committee? Do we know offhand?
Through the chair, there are 6 members on the committee, or 7 members
There's
on
how
the
many?
committee. 7 members.
7 members. So you could meet with 3 and not have a quorum. So they could form a subdivision of the 3 members that could work on trying to get a structure forward and then report back to the committee. If you want to start that right away, it wouldn't require any staff time, is what I'm saying. And then I've got You done, Joe? And then I'll go to Dave.
Well, if you need to get this started now, what she's Counselor to you is asking for is to be able to have meetings more frequently than once every quarter,
Yeah.
right? I think we should be able to, whether it's after the budget, November, December is usually kind of hard to have meetings because of the Christmas season, whether it's January to the next 4 months, January to April, right? That you meet every week, every month with your little subcommittee doing some background work. I think that might be a solution for you.
Dave, something to add? Counselor Snutch?
No, I was just saying if there's 7, then you said you get 3 people together, but that means Dana can't attend. So it's really just Dana and 2 other members. I'd sort of like to get this off to a faster start. But as I said, the original amendment would be we go to monthly meetings once the budget is finished.
And I think it's going to be a hybrid of both. From what I'm seeing here, I think they can get a subcommittee to help move it along faster, but I think we would need to also ask after budget period, allow the committee to go to monthly meetings for the first quarter until they can get something established. Counselor Bell, you had a comment for that?
I was just going to say thank you to the CAO, because that's precisely what I was doing with that committee, was meeting with them so that we could build those strategic and communications plans and make sure that what we brought back to the next meeting of all members, including staff, was some kind of package of put together information so that the committee could start to move forward. So I would be an advocate for definitely doing both of those things. And that was a committee of 5, and we were able to get the work done and have the service provider send us back a note saying it was the most successful implementation he's ever worked on. So I think having a committee of 6 or 7, there's already an advantage there because it's a larger committee.
Okay, so is there enough direction? Everybody's clear? I'm looking at Rebecca for a motion.
So through the chair, actually already in the terms of reference for the Climate Action Committee, it states that meetings can be called, just pull up the exact wording, but meetings can occur at the call of the chair or as determined by the advisory committee with a minimum of 3 meetings per year. So the chair or the advisory committee can make the determination to meet more frequently and doesn't require a council.
Okay, but if you'll be mindful of staff and the budget process, then today was just a discussion. So we would just receive the discussion. And or what are you looking for a motion? Because I think you've gotten some good feedback here. Is that enough for today, Councillor?
Yes, that's enough. I was just hoping, yes, to be able to have those extra sort of time parameters, which I'm very grateful we have, as well as to, not be relegated into some kind of box where we're just purely, looking at, for example, development proposal and then basically asking ourselves, okay, will that hurt the frogs? And then that's that. We wanted to do something a bit more proactive. So thank you.
Okay, do you have a suggested motion for us, and Rebecca?
So through the chair, we just have that the Climate Action Committee Chair correspondence dated September 29th, 2025 regarding requests for council's input on a climate action work plan be received as information.
Perfect. Moved by Councillor Goff, second by Councillor Fisher. There's no other concerns and lots of valuable input there. All in favor? Thank you. Next, I have 15.2. I believe, Councillor, you've declared on this item, correct? Thank you.
Yes, I have. So I will disappear.
Wait, just 1 second, Councillor Bell. I just want a clarification because I do believe she's allowed to make a statement in her defense before we rule on this.
Yes, you can.
Yeah,
you can make a statement on the recommended fines if you wish.
I will actually be deferring to my legal team to make any statements. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So want to read the motion, or maybe I should clarify before we start so the council knows what we're voting on here. Under the Municipal Act, every municipality in Ontario must have a code of conduct and must appoint an integrity commissioner. The integrity commissioner is an independent third-party officer. His role is to review complaints, investigate the facts, and apply the township's code of conduct and relative legislation, which would include the Municipal Act, procedure bylaw, and of course, Robert's Rules of Debate. And then provide a formal report to council with findings on any recommendation. This process is meant to be independent and impartial, not political. It ensures that all complaints are reviewed by a neutral party, not by fellow council members. It is not controlled by council and cannot be used as a tool by one member against another. It is important that everyone to understand the council does not direct, influence, or challenge the integrity commissioner's findings. Once the complaint is made, the process is completely independent. Council's role is very clear. We receive the report, we ensure that it is made public as required by law, and then we consider any sanctions or recommendations the integrity commissioner has made. So it's only the sanctions that we can comment on. Deputy Mayor.
I'd just like to also point out that we can comment on them, but as soon as this last situation, it was the decision to go to court. That is not a decision in our hands. And that was clearly laid out by the IC in the integrity commissioner in the last report, is that we don't have a choice in this. Once they make that decision, it goes. And for clarification, the money that we agreed to reallocate for this, we didn't give that money for the opportunity to take her to court. This is something we have to allocate from another fund to actually cover the costs of this.
Right. Okay, so we have the report and we have a recommendation. Comments or questions from council? Then I'll look for the recommendation.
That the Integrity Commissioner's final report dated September 26, 2025 regarding Code of Conduct complaint final report, Councillor Sherry Bell, be received, and that council adopt and enact the recommendations contained in the report, specifically that council suspend Councillor Sherry Bell's remuneration for a total of 60 days, comprised of 30 days for breaching council's communication resolution and 30 days for breaching sections 5.13 and 6.1 of the Code of Conduct.
I will support the motion. I'm actually slightly disturbed. I know we did put this in policy. We now have had IT block any emails that can be sent to staff because, and we did this for the protection of staff. If you notice here, the first finding is 30 days for defying the council order and directly contacting staff. But the second 30-day is for the actual content of the emails that was found to be a breach of the commissioner. And I just, I'm looking for the wording here. Is the comment was considered improper, is the comments that were contained within the email. And that's why the second breach. So with that, can I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by the deputy mayor, second by Councillor Tuyu. On the fine, any other comments? All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. I will wait for our councillor to return. Okay, we are on to 15.3. Rebecca.
That council received the correspondence from the Rural Ontario Municipal Association regarding the ROBA 2026 annual conference, and that the following members of council be registered to attend the ROMA 2026 annual conference with expenses taking place from January 18th to 20th, 2026. Then through the chair, we will require direction on which members will be attending the ROMA conference.
Okay, I will be going on county, as will you, I understand? Yes, you will. Yeah. Councillor Fisher, Councillor Tuyu, Councillor Goff. Others? Okay, that's who will be attending. Councillor Bell.
Thank you.
I will not support you going to a conference, Councillor Bell. As I stated at the last time when you tried to get your own delegations, I have sent that to the Integrity Commissioner until I get his ruling back. I will not support sending you to any conferences to represent this council.
Thank you. I didn't try to get a delegation. I received a delegation with Parliamentary Assistant to Minister of Municipal Affairs regarding weaponization of the Integrity Commissioner process. And so it wasn't a matter of trying, and I attended that delegation with a number of other colleagues from across the province of Ontario. So is it your position that an elected official should not have the opportunity to attend at a municipal conference?
Your statement is incorrect. You actually tried to get a delegation with municipal affairs because they wrote us and informed us of such, and you were denied that delegation.
Thank you, I did, but that I was
Yes.
not successful with that delegation. And for clarity, that delegation was not regarding any grant application, and rather that was regarding the township's overall management of its municipal sewer and water services, among other things. And I will actually continue to reach out to any member of Parliament or MPP that I wish to reach out to, as well as any other governing body, because again, I am an elected official by the town residents of the Township of Ramara, and there is no requirement under any legislation or act that I may not advocate on behalf of residents. I did not speak on behalf of council, but I certainly can speak on behalf of residents. So I'm just asking you, is it your position that an elected official should not be permitted to attend at a municipal conference?
So I will clarify your thoughts again. There is legislation, and it's our code of conduct, that you are due not to represent the individuals as yourself, but through the body of council. And so that is legislation that you are required to follow, that you have chosen not to. So when you start following the legislation, then we would consider whether or not we wish to, for the taxpayers to pay the money to send you to a conference when you're not working with this council and furthering our agenda. So it's a question of whether or not we want the taxpayers to burden the cost of sending a councillor to Roma that does not support the positions of this council or operate within the code of conduct and the legislation that we are provided to follow. I will remind the councillor, this is the 6th time that you have been found guilty by the Independent Integrity Commissioner for going outside of not only the Municipal Act, but the code of conduct as well. So right now I have Councillor Tuyu, Councillor Fisher, Councillor Goff. If you would like a vote on whether you may attend, you may ask for that, Councillor Bell.
Oops. Well, I may as well go through the bells and whistles and I will request the vote.
Do I have a seconder that Councillor Bell can attend? I have no seconder. So on the 3 councillors that have been asked to attend, can I have a mover? Moved by Councillor Snutch, second by Councillor Tuyu. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you.
Oh.
Oh. Yeah. Did you have your hand? You were voting? Yes. Okay.
No, I just was going to say, if one elected official can't go, then neither should, or have it funded, neither should any other. So I would want a recorded vote.
You would like well, I guess we'd have a recorded vote on the last issue of who's allowed to attend.
It's
all
not a
members
question,
of,
sorry, just for clarity as well, it's not a question of who's allowed to attend. I can attend. What we're talking about is whether it'll be funded by the people who elected me, not whether I can attend, just for clarity, because I can attend.
Yes, but you won't be recognized as representing this council.
I certainly wasn't recognized as representing this council at the last conference either. So that's fine. But I just want for the public, for clarity, I can go if I choose to go and fund it myself. But what you're saying is you're not going to fund it, and so I want the recorded vote that says I don't agree with funding these other council members. Either we fund whoever wants to go or we don't fund anybody. So that's why I'd like the recorded vote. Thank you.
So I have a motion on the table, a recorded vote requested. Could I have the motion read, please?
That council received the correspondence from the Rural Ontario Municipal Association regarding the Roma 2026 annual conference, and that the following members of council be registered to attend the Roma 2026 annual conference with expenses taking place in January 18th to 20th, 2026. Councillor Fisher, Councillor Tuyu, Councillor Goff.
Okay, recorded vote requested.
A recorded vote has been requested regarding the attendance at and with expenses at the Roma 2026 annual conference. I'll start with the requesting member. Councillor Bell.
Oppose.
Deputy Mayor Bell.
In favor.
Councillor Fisher.
In favor.
Councillor Goff.
In favor.
Councillor Snutch.
In favor.
Councillor Tuyu.
In favor.
Mayor Clark.
In favor.
The motion has carried.
Thank you. Now I have, what's next? That is our room. Now we're on to motions, postpone motions. I have none. Planning motions, I have none. I have our deputation motions now. So go ahead, Rebecca. We're trying to figure what I think council would want based on these deputations that we received. So go ahead, Rebecca.
That the deputation from Scott Denny of the Child and Youth Advocacy Center of Simcoe Muskoka regarding a funding request to support young victims and their families in Ramara be received as information.
And I think we had a suggested motion, clear with the CEO, that it be forwarded to budget deliberations on October 23rd and that a letter be sent, help me out, to Simcoe
Yes.
County, encouraging them to support.
Through your worship, we'll have an amendment for
Yes.
you that would see this motion and their request be pushed forward to the 2026 budget deliberations, as well as a request to the county, as well as a request to send this resolution to all Simcoe County municipalities. So if you could just give us a quick moment and we'll prepare that amendment.
Okay, and I'll put the motion on the floor. Councillor Goff, second by Councillor Fisher, and we'll work on that amendment. Everybody heard the amendment. Is there any questions arising from it? We'll just get it drafted up.
Thank you for your patience. We're just getting the amendment up on the screen. So the amendment before council is that the motion before council be amended to include the following, and that the funding request from the Child and Youth Advocacy Center of Simcoe Muskoka be forwarded to the 2026 budget process, and the County of Simcoe be encouraged to provide financial support on behalf of County of Simcoe member municipalities, and that this resolution be forwarded to all County of Simcoe member municipalities and the cities of Barrie and Orillia.
Okay. Everybody, can I have a mover and seconder for the amendment? Councillor Tuya, second by the Deputy Mayor. Questions on the amendment? All in favor? And now questions on the, or I'll call the vote on the motion as amended. All in favor? Thank you. That was unanimous. Next, we have the County of Simcoe delegation. It's just to receive. Yes, go ahead, Rebecca.
That the deputation from Brad Spiewak, Director of Community Housing, Andrew Scavarelli, Director of Housing and Homelessness Services, and Samantha Zurcher, Director of Early Learning and Child Care System Management of the County of Simcoe regarding social and community services updates be received as information.
Moved by Councillor Snutch, second by Councillor Tuyu. Question? Well, I guess not. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Notice is a motion. I have none, but I do have a council motion which notices has been previously given. And Deputy Mayor, is your motion? Do you want to repeat it? You want to read it, Rebecca, and then the Deputy Mayor can comment on his motion?
So through the chair, if I can just speak to the procedure for
Yes.
this reconsideration. So there will actually be two votes. So the first is a vote whether to reconsider the motion, and that requires a 2/3 majority vote. There is no discussion on this vote except for obtaining information to justify the reconsideration. And then if that is carried, then there will be a second vote on the original motion. So
Yeah, we went through this at county not that long ago. So you are allowed to clarify why he's asking for the reconsideration, and then, but there's no discussion. We will just vote on it after his comments.
I
Deputy
can
Mayor, go ahead.
read the
we-
motion if you like.
Do we have to wait until it's on the floor first and then I can comment? Is that correct, Rebecca?
Yes.
So I moved it. I believe David seconded it.
Yes. Moved by Keith Bell, seconded by David Snutch, that council reconsider resolution number CR.181.25 from the council meeting held on June 23rd, 2025, with respect to an inquiry motion directing staff to look at the feasibility, options, and opportunities for a sports dome to be located in the township, including but not limited to public-private partnerships and corporate sponsorships.
So now I can comment on the reconsideration, correct? Okay, so.
Point of
we have-
order.
Point of order is called. Yes, Councillor Bell.
Thank you. This is actually going to be the fourth time. So this is actually a reconsideration of the reconsideration. We received a staff report. The staff report was brought forward by Keith Bell originally. We received the staff report on September 11th of 2023 via CW 187.23. And that included information on the costs, et cetera, related to the dome. We then received a deputation on May 27th of 2023 by CR 11724, and that sports dome proposal included a number of things. Council had no appetite to move forward. We simply received as information in both cases. This was brought back in June and was already placed for a reconsideration, and by a 2/3 vote, the reconsideration was defeated. So I don't believe that the procedure allows us to reconsider a reconsideration.
Don, no, I have to rule on the point of order. So I'm trying to understand what your point of order is. I don't see this as a reconsideration of a reconsideration because the original reports were just received. So received means no action. It wasn't deemed that council do not proceed. However, I believe in June 23rd, it was passed that council do not proceed with June 23rd, 2025. It was it not, or was it? No, sorry, that's when you brought this in. So I'm going to look for clarification from the clerks because I don't see how this is a reconsideration of a reconsideration because it was not brought back. This is the first time it's been brought back since council has decided not to proceed.
Through you, worship. Certainly with anything further from Ms. Zanussi, the reconsideration process is a complex process, and what we look at from a clerk's perspective is you are reconsidering the original motion.
Yes.
And I understand that there has been some history with respect to the sport dome options or opportunities or what have you within the township over the last several years. And so what we're dealing with today is the reconsideration of the inquiry that was put forward by Deputy Mayor Bell. It is your ruling, your worship, in terms of whether you deem that to be a reconsideration, which then can be certainly appealed by the assembly if they choose. This particular issue is specific in terms of the options and the opportunities and the partnerships, et cetera, related to a sport dome opportunity in the township. It is my understanding that this is different than what was originally asked in terms of dealing with the sport dome opportunity in the township. I understand that there was a previous report on costing and those kinds of things. This is specific to what opportunities are available, what partnerships are available, what the feasibility is. Those kinds of things would be included in that report if council gives that direction to staff to prepare that type of report.
Thank you, Gail. And actually, now I do remember this is a motion that was brought on June 23rd and was defeated, and the deputy mayor would like a reconsideration. So that is very clear to myself, but it does require a 60% majority, which is 5 members or more, correct? Yes.
Here, yes.
So it's a reconsideration of the motion that was brought on June 23rd is what we're talking about today, not anything that took place prior to that. So if you may continue, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. So I did just want to give the history on how this went, but there's a lot of confusion because we had somebody coming in who was an option. So initially, when I brought this forward, we asked for that report from the previous infrastructure director, Josh Kavanaugh. He came forward and said he just did some quick searches and this is what we'd be looking at for costs. We agreed that it was expensive and it wasn't in our budget at this time. However, what we agreed on is that I would continue championing this project to look at different options, partnerships, et cetera, et cetera. So I did that. I talked to the mayor of Bradford, who's had one dome already built by a partner and cost nothing to the town of Bradford. They've gotten such a great results out of that. They're now recontracted another 15 years with that same provider. They're building a second sports dome there at no cost to Bradford. So I forwarded that to Mr. Kavanaugh. I don't know what was ever done with that. Beyond that, we did 2 deputations with Minister Lumsden, who is the minister of the cabinet minister of sports. He was very excited about it. He was commended us on our thoughts and hopefully that we could afford that. So there could be grants if we were prepared to go ahead with it. At no point did we vote down the sports zone. One of the options came about a member of a group in Aurelia has been trying to build a sports zone and brought his idea forward. It was not the right idea for us. We received his information and we continued on. We never once voted this down. It has never, ever been voted down. It was, we were going to continue looking for funding, looking for partnerships, looking for sponsorships. That was what was agreed on. So I don't even know, look, we have a full new management team. We've reorganized our entire org chart here. We have fresh eyes, a lot of great experience from people funding and creating partnerships like this. This is our opportunity to get a fresh set of eyes on this and see if it is feasible. There are kids here. We have 3 public schools. We went one Catholic public school in here, or public school, elementary school. And we also have a lot of kids going to high school. I'm very involved with sports. Another misconception is that I had suggested that we close the library. That never happened. That was in the deputation by the gentleman who came here. It was always my idea, if we chose the Ramara Center, it was close enough to our partnering communities that they may partner with us. The other piece of that is that my thought was if somebody brings their kids to sports at the Sports Dome, they have other kids that could actually go to the library and start to increase the amount of people utilizing our library to help its longevity. So I want to clarify all of those things before we get to this, because I think a lot of people were thinking they had to choose between the library and that, or sewer and water projects in this. That is not the case. This is just another project we need to consider for families, development, for a lot of reasons, for everybody. So that's why I'm bringing this back forward to see if we can get a fresh set of eyes on this.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. There is no discussion on it, so I will call for the vote on the reconsideration, which does require a 60%, correct? All right. So, all in favor?
Can I request a recorded
I think we better, that way we can keep count better. So we'll go request by the deputy mayor.
So through the chair, a recorded vote has been requested for the reconsideration of resolution number CR 181.25. I'll start with the requesting member. Deputy Mayor Bell?
In favor.
Councillor Bell?
Opposed.
Councillor Fisher?
In favor?
Councillor Goff?
In favor.
Councillor Snutch?
In favor.
Councillor Tuyu?
In favor.
Mayor Clark?
In favor.
The motion has carried.
So then now, I guess the next one is now we look at the actual motion, correct? And whether I'm looking for guidance from my
Through the
clerks
chair,
on this
yes,
one.
that is correct. So the now we would put the original motion back on the floor and council would vote on that motion. So I can read that now. We do already have the mover and a seconder from the notice of motion. So it's moved by Keith Bell, seconded by David Snutch, that staff be directed to look at the feasibility, options, and opportunities for a sports dome to be located in the township, including but not limited to private-public partnerships and corporate sponsorships.
So that is a motion that is on the table. Questions on the motion now? We can certainly take that. Councillor Bell.
Thank you. So I have a number of concerns, and I listened to everything the deputy mayor said, and it's interesting always the way that people recall things, and so there's always room for interpretation. It was very clear at that time that this was meant to be funded by the taxpayer of Ramara, and we don't have $6 million to fund it, among other things. Rental of the facility at $1 a year, the removal of the library, the question mark around development charges. So, and right at the end of the day, there's actually no option for multiple teams to be at the Ramara Center location and be able to use any facilities. We just don't even have the facilities there to support it. So that's my first concern. And so I don't like the private public. I'm not in favor of. If this is such a viable opportunity, and and Bradford has done this, and there is somebody out there that wants to come to the Township of Ramara and construct a sports dome, then I'd say fill your boots. As a private enterprise, feel free, come in, and if you can bring that to the township, wonderful. But the other concern I have is the article that was published last week that created an environment of us versus them, segregating consumers of municipal services against a sports dome. I don't know who.
Point of order. Okay, I've got a point of order. Deputy Mayor, go ahead.
Well, I just don't see how one has anything to do with the other one. And I think we're actually reading into this a little bit. So I don't think we're staying on track with the current topic.
I guess, yeah, the current topic is that staff be directed to look at the feasibility options and opportunities that are out there, whether it be private, public, or whether it be private, I guess, but we would look for private-public partnerships. I believe Bradford supplied the land is what they did.
I'm sorry, are you ruling on the point of order? I'm just not clear. What's the
Yes,
ruling?
you're off topic, Counselor. You're talking
Okay,
about
then
sewer,
I'm
you're talking about.
okay. Thank you.
Counselor, you're-
Thank you. I'm challenging the chair.
All right, we can put it to a vote that you don't believe you're off topic. So do you have a seconder to challenge my ruling? You do not. So you're off topic. If you could please talk with Ken staff, be directed to look at the feasibility options of opportunities for a sports zone to be located in the township, including and not limited to, including but not limited to public-private partnerships and corporate sponsorships. So on that motion, what's your concerns?
The word public. I'm not at all in support of Ramara's taxpayers funding a sports dome. I did hear the deputy mayor speak to how many children live in the township, and I would love to see us have every possible thing available to all children within our township. What we know from the reports that were done last year is that we couldn't even form a baseball team. The only thing we were successfully able to bring together was t-ball, and then we have our soccer teams that play over the summer, and they're already using those fields, and we don't need to construct a sports dome. I think that there's lots of other opportunities and options. And if we look at the number 6 million, we could go a long way in Ramara Township with $6 million on.
Point of order.
Okay,
So
I'm just going
not
to clarify.
supporting-
I'm going to clarify again. There's no 6 million been mentioned in this document. We're asking staff to look into the feasibility, and I don't know where you're getting your numbers from.
Getting
It's
my
pretty
numbers from the
straightforward that we're
presentation
asking,
we received.
and we're not even asking that the public pay for anything at this point. That would be come back in the report. This is authorizing staff to look and see what partnerships are available out there.
Thank you. But one of the things that we've just raised even today is that we don't have the resources to be applying our staff to doing things that we, at the end of the day, can't afford to support anyway. So it doesn't even make sense. We've considered this now the 4th time. It doesn't make sense to allocate staff resources to spending their time to do a staff report on a sports dome that just we don't even have the business case to say that it can be supported in Ramara Township. So I just don't understand where we're going. It seems that it's a pet project that we're trying to move forward on the back of the taxpayer, and I can't support that. It's not fiscally responsible. We have said we don't have the money to worry about what we're doing with the buildings at the corner of 12 and Simcoe Road, 47, whatever. So I can't understand how we have the resources to look at a staff report for something that we can't afford to build. So I'm definitely not in favor.
Okay, thank you. Good point, though, on the staff time. So that is noted. Any other comments? Councillor Fisher.
Thank you. I'm hoping that by relooking at this, that we are going to, like I recognize Deputy Mayor, that when that gentleman came in and spoke about that property over where the library is, that was not a council direction, that we invited him here and offered that piece of land to him. And that was, he saw a piece of land that was probably big enough on our mapping. So I'm hoping that the staff report will bring back, and I mean, in all seriousness too, it could come back to say we can't afford it, we don't have property, and it has to be completely private, and then we can put it to rest. So I'm hoping that when staff is doing this report, that they are looking at other areas too, because I think that's the biggest concern that I'm hearing is with regards to this, with the sports dome, isn't even the cost, it was the location. So I'm hoping that that's considered with staff report.
I would hope myself that we never put it to rest, that these are things that, yes, it might not be something you proceed with at this time, but you always keep an open mind. You always look for private public partnerships that can benefit the taxpayers. I think it's something we should always be doing and actually never stop looking for those partnerships. So do I have any other comments on the motion? So then I will call for a vote on the motion. Have the same mover and the same seconder, which is Councillor Bell, Deputy Mayor Bell, and Councillor Snudge.
Can I record a vote again, please?
Recorded vote on this as well. Thank you.
A recorded vote has been requested on the direction to look at the feasibility, options, and opportunities for a sports dome to be located in the township, including but not limited to private-public partnerships and corporate sponsorships. We'll start with the requesting member. Deputy Mayor Bell,
In favor.
Councillor Bell,
Opposed.
Councillor Fisher,
In favor?
Councillor Goff,
In favor.
Councillor Snutch,
In favor.
Councillor Tuyu,
In favor.
Mayor Clark.
In favor.
The motion has carried.
Thank you. So I'll move on. 1616 inquiry motions. I have none. Bylaws. So I just have the motions on the bylaws. Rebecca?
Through the chair, we do have one motion to adopt all of the bylaws before council. However, if you would like to vote on any of those separately, please let us know. So the motion that we have is that bills
Oh,
2020.
Councillor Bell does have her hand up. Yes, Councillor Bell?
Yeah, I'll be voting on the shore wall bylaw separately, please.
So we will pull that one out of the original motion. Which one is, it is 2539. Why don't we vote on it first, then, or do you want to do the others first, Rebecca?
Through the chair, we could vote on the three that are included in the motion and then vote on 2025.39.
All right. Is there any others to be pulled? Not seeing any, so go ahead with your motion then.
And that bills 2025.40, 2025.41, and 2025.42 be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed as bylaws.
All in favor? Oh, moved by Councillor Goff, second by Councillor Tuyu. All in favor? That is carried. And now the last bylaw. It's 2025-39.
That bill 2025.39 being a bylaw to amend bylaw 2017.25 regarding the construction and maintenance of shore walls within the development known as Lagoon City be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed as a bylaw.
Moved by Councillor Goff, second by Councillor Tuyu again.
And the
All
recorded
vote on
Yeah,
the
thank you.
bylaw. Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
A recorded vote has been requested on bill 2025.39 being a bylaw to amend 2017.25 bylaw regarding the construction and maintenance of shore walls within the development known as Lagoon City. We'll start with the requesting member. Councillor Bell,
Opposed.
Deputy Mayor Bell,
In favor.
Councillor Fisher,
In favor?
Councillor Goff,
In favor.
Councillor Snutch,
In favor.
Councillor Tuyu,
In favor.
Mayor Clark.
In favor.
The motion has carried.
Thank you. So now I am on to the confirmatory bylaw. Almost said Councillor Norcross because he reads them on a county.
That bylaw 2025.59 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council meeting held on the 6th day of October 2025 be considered read first, second, and third time and finally passed.
And over all that noise from the deputy mayor, I hope everybody heard it. Can I have a mover, Councillor Fisher, second by Councillor Goff? All in favor? That is carried. And now the adjournment. Yeah, that's I can read it, that the council meeting of the Township of Ramara held on October 6, 2025 be adjourned at 12:56 PM. Moved by Councillor Bell and second by Councillor Fisher. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you.